You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you? And the reason you're so upset, the reason you're so angry, has been perfectly clear from all the angry exchanges this morning. You, as a political project, are in denial. That your currency is failing. You're in denial. Well, just look at the Mediterranean. No. As a policy to impose poverty on Greece and the rest of the Mediterranean, you've done very well. last Thursday was a remarkable result. It was indeed a seismic result, not just for British politics, for European politics, but perhaps even for global politics too, because what the little people did, what the ordinary people did, what the people who have been oppressed over the last few years and seen their living standards go down, they rejected the multinationals, they rejected the merchant banks, they rejected big politics, and they said, actually, we want our country back.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the White Elephants. I'm using the old school OBS just so you guys know, but I was able to make something. So if you look right here and right here, I was able to get the overlays to work, so that's cool. Have the other stuff from, what was it called, the Purity something, I forget what I used. Sucky thing about the chat, and I might have to change this, is like if I'm on OBS, unfortunately I would have to use this to read things, either that or actually I could use the YouTube live dashboard actually. So let's see who's in here. Okay, so a lot of people saying 1488, I don't know why. So many live streams tonight. Yep. Oh, I'm just glad that this is a cozy stream. This has nothing to do with all of that. What was it? IBS drama. I threw that in the title because that is what is hot right now. I was watching actually Mr. Mediker's thing for a while, and it was pretty funny. It was it was a typical shit show as we like to see, but it's getting a little too much. It's getting way too much. Not only that, but a lot of people in there don't know how to defend themselves. So when I saw like that Zoom guy and those, I don't know, these other people that are trying to trying to cause drama so that they can get some more viewers and subs, I just don't see a point for it. Like I'm all for some drama, but some of it is just idiotic completely. We can get more into that a little bit later, but I also want to emphasize we're back. That's the thing. Someone reported one of my videos. It was called what was it? A black man learns the truth about slavery. That was the video, and it was flagged for violence and graphics and violence. So graphic being like blood and stuff. And violence is being someone getting hit or injured or something. In that video, the video got over 100,000 views, so it kind of makes sense why it got flagged. Obviously, people are gonna get mad. It's a video, had good content. It was me in LA at a protest, and I was talking to this black man, and somehow we ended up talking about slavery. And I just wanted to let him know that I'm like, look, everyone's been a slave, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the only people that are getting blamed for it, the only people that are getting guilted into hating themselves is white people. So that was kind of the whole point of the video. It was very, very popular. It was my most popular video to date. I should probably do more pre-recorded stuff because most of this channel, honestly, is a bunch of pre-recorded, right? 2,000 subs and only 16 people. It's kind of weird how that works because I know even with Andy Worski, he has nearly 300,000 and yet he's barely able to take in like 700 to 1,000 sometimes. It's kind of weird how that works. You would think YouTube would want to help people out because, they get a percentage of the super chat. So if they make sure everyone sees the notification, you'd think it'd be at least 10% of your audience. But I feel like if only 700 to 1,000 people are watching and you have 300,000, I feel like that's way below 10%. Generation Zyklon, what's up? I am Nacho. Hello. Sifu is in the house. Iron sub from Worski. Cannot watch that Kumite shit. I don't know. I'm not the. I don't really watch the Kumite regularly. Most of it is very like it's not even like blood sports. It's just a lot of people just sitting there quietly, and then they show a bunch of clips from this other show, something to do with ghosts and stuff like that. Um, I went on the Kumite once, so they're good people. Failure and Tonka are good people, but yeah, I would just say that their content isn't my cup of tea. Um, I like Andy Worski a lot. I watch some of his content. Um, I just started watching him when he created all the blood sports and all that stuff. Low energy, JF is better. See, this is the problem with you guys. This is the problem. Look, that you don't have to take a side, okay? Andy Worski and JF are both at fault. They're both at fault. JF was at fault for being like one of these SJWs, censoring people, going after people, being a dick to Andy. So he's very much at fault. And then Andy, but I honestly, if I was in Andy's situation, I would have kicked. I would have kicked JF too, for sure. Now, does anyone here even know what Andy Worski's political opinions are really? Like, because I know a lot of people. There's a lot of white nationalists and people of that mindset, and they obviously like JF. But I don't see any reason to like hate on Worski. Like he's getting all this hate, and I just don't see why. Like they're turning it into this gigantic fight. Oh, it's JF versus Worski, and it's like, look, like Worski was forced to have to get rid of JF. He was being very much a dick. He was very much biting the hand that feeds him constantly. So it's like you could agree with JF politically, but as a person in the way that he is behaving, it was obviously he had no choice. I unsub from Tree 2 since she became. I don't know. I don't really know Tree Logic. All I know is she was very much calling out Red Pill Black and Joy Villa and people like that. So she's good at dropping those. She was good at dropping those red pills at that time. I don't hate either of them. Hating requires caring. Yeah, I like Andy Worski. He's a great guy. He's an awesome guy. I support him. I like his show, The Purple Dragon. You guys should sub. It was pretty fun. He did a stream where he did this jump scare thing. It was really fun, actually. I was watching it. And then JF, I like JF stuff. I just don't like him as a person. I think as a person, he's kind of a piece of shit. But when it comes down to his political beliefs and things like that, he's very smart. He's one of the best debaters out there. I agree with him a lot politically, but I think just as a person, I think he's I think he's annoying. And you're a libertarian, but then you're gonna go and censor other people constantly. Like in some cases, I agree. Like with the whole V situation, and he laid out why he blocked him, and I understood that. But blocking anyone that criticizes you is just it's pretty gay. It's pretty gay. All right. So what else is in here? She's still going after Candace. Well, that's good. I'll have to check out her tweets or videos because obviously Candace, she's on top of the world. Like she's went from like these YouTube communities from being like a small little e-celeb to being like now she's probably sitting in rooms with Donald Trump, for God's sakes. That's like the worst case scenario is you get a piece of shit like that in a position of power and no one knows what's going on. What was the basis on Andy and JF differences? There's a lot. There's a lot of differences, but I like them. I think them as a team was perfect, JF was high IQ'd, Andy was low IQ'd, but both of those guys, because of it, they could both understand. They could both like convey messages. Like even if someone's low IQ, they can still convey messages. Like they can both talk to a different kind of crowd of people. And not only that, but people get on Andy, but it's just like, look, there's a lot of big brain people. You got JF on there. You had like, Jay Dyer. There's a lot of like smart people, and Andy's not a retard. Let's be honest. There's a lot of retards out there in real life. Andy is not one of them. And it's just we're comparing like when you have like a normie kind of guy, and he's in there with all these, big brain people. It's just one of those things. Tree was banned off Twitter for calling David Duke racist grandpa. Okay. I do know she was like trying to. I saw some videos. Like I didn't watch them, but like on my feed, since since it's all in the same stuff, that she was. I think she did like a debate with Richard Spencer, and she had like David Duke on these people. So I think she thought that she was gonna beat up these guys. She's like, oh, all these guys are racist and white supremacists. I'm gonna take them on, and I'm gonna beat them myself. From the videos I've seen, I mean, she does seem a little on the low IQ side. So I don't know how long now. I know she had Mike Enoch on too, but I'm not gonna watch her like someone I don't like's video because she's not someone that I follow for like 3 hours. I thought they were a good combo. Yeah, they were, but at the end of the day, JF is buying the hand that feeds him. I mean, I would have done the same thing. If you go around and, you're getting beat up by Jay Dyer and then you go and call me low IQ in a derogatory way. And then when you get called out for it, then you start to play it off as a joke when that's obviously a lie. There was a lot of stuff that happened, though. And then that whole, Worski was saying something about Cantwell, and then JF did a whole stream, and he basically was, going after Worski. And it's like, dude, are you stupid? She can't pronounce anything over 3 syllables. All right, well, what else? Yeah, so we're back. So I don't know how far I went to it. Yeah, they tried to take us down, I think I'm a very small channel, so someone's reporting my stuff. It could have been a random leftist. I mean, the video did get over 100,000, but it could also be some person that's jealous of me. There's a lot of jealous people out there. They wish they had the her. They wish they had the her, right? So who knows who it could have been. Hello, Sierra. Thank you for the heart mark. Tree is all about the money. That's all she talks about in her live streams. Well, yeah. I mean, at least she's being honest. There's a lot of people that are in it for the money, but they won't admit it. They'll just, look at all these good deeds I've done. It's like, okay, yeah, you did a bunch of good stuff. That doesn't prove that you're not a piece of shit. Pieces of shit do a lot of good things. Like, sure, there's a lot of bad people out there that, have taken their grandma to their doctor's appointments or something. What does that have to do with anything? What's up, Reverend? If you guys haven't subbed, please sub. I'm trying to reach 10K. Caesar did nothing wrong. Tree's a dominatrix LARPing as a conservative. Well, I wouldn't say LARPing. I mean, the conservatives, they've gotten they're so close to liberals at this point that they're just like, oh yeah, we're pro gays, pro lesbians, pro trannies. They're basically pro all that shit. The only difference is they have difference in opinion on economics. That's really it. One side is atheist in the left, and the other side is I guess Christian. But they basically believe the same things. Like most conservatives are totally fine with the whole Europe and the United States, the demographics completely changing. They have no problems with that. The difference literally is the right is just capitalist and they're religious, and the left isn't. I mean, there's really not too many differences here. Something involving a banana. She's libertarian, not conservative. Yeah, she's probably libertarian. So how was your day, David? It's been very boring. I mean, at least I'm out of YouTube jail, so that's something. But here's the weird part for you guys who don't know. So yesterday, I got banned off YouTube. I had to appeal the process. But I also was banned on Facebook at the same time. So for me to get banned off both platforms the same day seems a little like it was a hit job. Seems a little like maybe some jealous, fat, ugly people maybe are going after me. I don't think it's leftist. As much as I dislike them, I don't think they're coming after me because I don't have a big channel. And if they were coming after me, they would be coming after me from all sides. I mean, just look at that one. Just look at that Jewish guy who got doxxed, and uh, look at them go after him right now because he told Mexicans to speak English in America. That's what this whole thing. He had all these articles calling him a racist. He had all these people threaten to attack him. He got kicked out of his own office space. I think he got fired. They're trying to disbar him, and he got doxxed. And they had a whole activist party right in front of his house. Right in front of his house. So you have a bunch of angry people right in front of his house. And they think that someone isn't going to just show up to his house one day and stab him. So I feel for that guy. That's a terrible situation. I mean, this guy, because he said something that's common sense, now he's going to have to start his whole life over. And the right they're so weak that he's not getting any help. Is he getting any help from anyone? Is Steven Crowder? Is Steven Crowder going to put on his cape and fly there and help him? Is Ben Shapiro going there? Is Infowars going to go there? Is Donald Trump going to go there? Mitch McConnell? Who? What people on the right are going to save you? These people, this guy, he just said speak English in America. They are trying to destroy his life, and no one is doing a damn thing. That's the difference in strength between the left and the right. That's the difference. Is the right, they don't do nothing. They just say, oh, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Let me just do what I want. You go do what you want, I'll do what I want. And maybe your little circle is working. Maybe you and your little circle is fine, but you look at the rest of your neighborhood, it's going to the shitter. It's going to the shitter. It's like everything's being destroyed. Look at all these blue areas. Look at all these blue areas being fucking destroyed. There's homelessness everywhere. There's drugs rampant, STDs rampant. It's getting utterly destroyed. And the people on the right, all they can do is just, oh, I'm going to run for it. Oh, I'm going to move. Oh, yeah, that's a great position. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that this area is just going to, it's just going to burn up in a garbage fire and that'll be the end of it? Do you think that these people aren't going to just move to a different area like what you're doing, and then they'll destroy it, and then you're like, and then I'll move away, and then they'll follow you, and then you move away, and then you follow you, and then you get to this point where you're on the edge, and at some point you're going to have to get tough, you're going to have to build some muscle, and you're going to have to confront it. That's the only thing you can do. And it's so sickening that the right is so weak that they don't stand by, that they don't stand up for themselves, like collectively, because you as a person, you can only do so much. Like maybe if you're a billionaire, you could do some Soros activity, pay some people to do some stuff. But for the most part, it's just so annoying, that it's just one side is able to fight one way, and then the other side is just so pussied out. This whole moral high ground. Oh, we're going to take the high road. Yeah, it's such a idiotic. I mean, that's the whole reason why things have flipped. It's like, look at conservatives from the 80s and look at them now. It's just they keep backpedaling just to save face. Yeah. Yeah, that's just annoying. But yeah, someone jealous is trying to target me. My Facebook isn't that big. It's not like I have 10,000 friends and I have all these things going on. Same thing with this YouTube. So if I'm getting hit, because I would think if it was just a YouTube, I think maybe it was a random leftist because the video was big. It had over 100,000. Maybe someone got triggered. But the same day, my Facebook and the YouTube same day, I think I'm being targeted by someone that's very, very jealous and very fat and very insignificant and who's a huge fucking faggot LARPer. That's what you are. You're a faggot LARPer, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's all I'm going to say. I wouldn't use the word annoying. I would say heartbreaking. I mean, it's they don't stand up for themselves. Yes, conservatives don't want to be called racist. They don't want to have to. Must be your hair, David. Pretty jealous. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Who would do that, Dave? Uh, I'm not about to give anyone any airtime. I like I like a good shit show, but I'm not the one that creates these things. I just react to it when they've gone too far. Is usually what happens. Jerry, since I climbed the two paths are Whitey stays cucked and silently dies out, or two, a civil war is sparked. Well, there was a video I actually saw today. Um, where like there was these people, they were like white people, and they like it looked like they lived in a gated community, but somehow every single day there's these like a huge pack of like black kids who are like middle schoolers or something, and I guess they don't show up at school and they just wander around this like area and they're somehow like screwing with the people in the area. And I guess at some points like there was this guy and his wife was getting attacked by like we're talking about like 20 of them, like a group, and a bunch of people in the area were getting attacked, and they were like, oh well, I called up the police and the police just show up and then they just leave, and then they're like, well, we thought maybe we can call the school, but literally no one wants to deal with this problem. The cops don't want to deal with it, and then the school doesn't want to deal with it. So they're like, oh, well, we don't know what to do. And basically, the guy was like, well, if shit keeps getting like this, someone's gonna die. Uh, and I mean, random people just being attacked all over the place. I think that's where the country's gonna go. You're seeing it in not really just random people getting attacked, but if you want to see the state of the entire country, if let's say Donald Trump leaves, and according to the demographics and the way people vote, and who knows, like I mean, who are we gonna push? Ted Cruz after Trump is gone? Like we'll be lucky to get Trump again, but if he's gone, what is the game plan? What is Plan B? Um, by then, according to the immigration and the way people vote, I think by then it'll be impossible for the right to win. And at some point, people are going to figure out and they're going to say, look, um, they ran Elizabeth Warren and they got 80% of the vote, and we got like 20%. And we put money into this race. We put our best guy, and it wasn't even close. I mean, it's going to get some really, really serious. I just watched a video by this by like this black cardinal, and he was talking about how he thinks that the West is just going to die out. And he said, if you think about it, maybe I can quote him exactly. I could find the video, but let me see. Oh, my phone's at 1%, so maybe I'll base cardinal. I think it was something like that. Someone said. Oh, basically, the reporter's asking him, like, what worries you? And he says, my biggest worry is that the West is going to die. And he says, he says Europe. But then he goes into the West, and he was essentially saying when he feels that the people of the West, the Europeans, they don't have any roots anymore. They lost their origins. And if you don't have roots, you don't have a tree. So even if you're a tree, if you don't have your roots, you will collapse and fall. And he says there's already signs of it. Obviously, we know the signs. There's literally people that are cucks. They're just anti themselves. They're anti people. They hate themselves. He was a black guy, Cardinal Sarah. I don't know. My phone's. What is his name? Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, Robert Sarah. Yeah. That guy should be the Pope right there. Yeah, he said they've lost their origins, they've lost their roots. A tree without roots dies. And he's afraid that the West will die. There are plenty of signs. Plenty of signs. I'm watching the video right here. You are invaded by other cultures, other peoples, which will progressively dominate you by their number and completely change your culture, your convictions, your morality. Oh, I guess that was the end of it. So yeah, he basically said, look, you guys are getting invaded and you guys are somehow okay with it. You have all these new people coming in with new cultures, and if you look at the numbers, they're slowly starting to take over. You know, and you just won't exist. And if you don't exist anymore, your values don't exist, your culture, your people, none of it exists anymore. And he's saying how it's, and I think Charles Murray brings that up a lot, or no, Douglas Murray. Douglas Murray. I get them mixed up. Douglas Murray brings that up a lot on The Silent Death of Europe is the book he has. And I haven't read it or really gone into it, but I have heard him do some speeches, and he was essentially saying how like everyone's just like letting themselves get outbred. They're letting themselves get invaded, and they just won't exist. Like, if they don't do anything soon, within like the next 100 years, 200 years, something like that, like they're on. Eventually, they just won't exist. It'll just be the new Middle East. And so people are waking up, though. There's a lot of people waking up. I think the major thing is the whole world got hit with the brainwashing that that has hit certain countries in the past. It's hit the entire world due to the internet and media and just the way we're all connected. But I do think these places, even though they've all been cucked in the past, Russia, Germany, many countries, even though they've been cucked in the past, they've always eventually woken up and fought against it. And so because of the internet and these things, I think everyone got hit by this. And so the only ones that aren't hit by this are the ones that remember what happened in the past, which is not a lot of people. But I think right now, people are waking up of all colors, all nationalities. Well, not everybody. Like, obviously, like there's a lot of people. I think there's people that do understand what's happening, but then they think about themselves as a group, and then they try to say, like, does what's happening, does this benefit me and my group? And if so, they'll go along with it. But if it doesn't, then they'll keep going. Some people, though, they believe in the Western beliefs of, there's an absolute good and evil. There's, bad and all that. And so some people are against it. But I think that what's happening right now is everyone's gotten brainwashed, but the new generations are starting to question things. And the new generations and the rise of nationalism, the rise of populism, the rise of people just saying, hey, we got to take care of ourselves. No more of this taking care of other people. You got to take care of yourself. That kind of thing. And not only that, but that's the best thing you could do for people that have a problem. You have to give them the opportunity to take care of themselves, because then they will come out of it stronger. Because if you just try to take care of them, they'll stay weak forever. And we should give them the opportunity to rise above their issues. Let's see. I saw Broseph type something. By the way, David Cardinal Sarah is considered one of the best by Catholics. That's the type of Christianity I was describing in VC the other day. That's good. That's awesome. If you can get people like that have a brain inside their skull, I support that. But the problem is, I'm surprised when I watched that video. I was like, wow, like, one of these, Catholics has, actually knows what they're talking about is good. And I think they had to speak out, especially the ones in power like that. Like, yeah, the Pope may say whatever, but at some point you might have to, counter signal the Pope, it might sound bad because you don't want to be punching right in, you don't want to be punching right in your group. But at some point, you have to go with your feelings. And if something feels like is wrong, if you're like, hey, this guy, he may be, connected to God and all that, but he's saying some really bad stuff. Might have to question him. So, all right. So, I'd like to get more into this IBS drama, and then we can go into like the vaccines and all that stuff, and anything else anyone wants to talk about. So, I kind of did my rant, which actually lasted a lot longer than usual. But if anyone wants to come into the Discord and they want to talk about whatever, I am in here. I'm taking the callers. Just waiting Just waiting for people to come in. So until then, I'm just going to rant on about stuff. But yeah, go into the on-air waiting room, and I will pull you over at some point. All right, so let's see what everyone's saying in the chat. Pope isn't connected to God anymore. Samantha, do you support Israel? What's going on there? Austria now has right-wing leadership. Yeah, that's true. We have Austria. We have Poland. I think Hungary. I think from what I heard, Soros just threw like billions of dollars into some sort of activism groups in I think it was Hungary, and they just, from what I heard, they removed it. Is what I heard. So that's good. That's good. Just I like that because in the United States, because of all the rules and the way things work, it's like impossible to do anything. It's just like basically in this country, money rules everything. So like I'm not pro like authoritarian, but there's a time and a place. And if you had to say, hey, I'm just gonna start removing stuff, that is the best guy to target. So yeah, they're good. Hungary banned Soros from even saying foot in the country. Yeah, but I mean, this isn't how it is in the past, where you had to be somewhere to actually influence things. Like obviously with the internet and all that, you could just hire some guys, create an organization. Like you never ever had to set foot in the country to fuck it up. From what I've heard, Italy, I think Italy might have a prime minister, or at least it looks like they will have a right-wing guy. But even then, he seems kind of cucky. But I'd rather take I'd rather take someone that's on our side than not. Italy is based. Sweden is getting there. Yeah, well, it's gonna happen. Yeah, that is true. But getting booted from your home country is pretty bad. Well, look, I'll say this. I'll say the older generations that had it easy, who forgot why they had it easy, you could say, see, the problem is people, and Joe Rogan has a joke about this I like to bring up, but people claim that the Egyptian pyramids were created due to like aliens. But for all we know, there was people in the past who were really, really smart, because biologically we're basically the same people. Evolution takes millions and millions of years for people to actually like change things like that. But the joke was essentially there was very, very smart people. They built the pyramids. They got all the low IQ ones to do the labor work, and then all the high IQ ones just died off. They stopped. High IQ people tend to not really be into having kids. They would much rather, bang a robot or something like that. They stop. You look at Japan, high IQ countries tend to have low fertility rates because they typically have less violence and not that many children. And then you go to these places like Africa, they got high violence, high death rates, and then they got high birth rates. Otherwise they just wouldn't exist. They'd all be dead. But basically the people, the high IQ people, they didn't reproduce anymore. They just ceased to exist, and the low IQ people saw that they didn't exist anymore, and then some of them just claimed that they were the ones that built everything. But then if you actually ask them how they did it, they couldn't actually say how they did it or anything, because they didn't actually build anything. So it's kind of like it's like, let's say you have you're super, super in shape, right? Like let's say you can never get in shape ever, but you live in like year 3000, and we put your brain in someone else's body, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now you're there, right? You're like, oh, I'm so big and strong, but you don't know how to actually maintain it because you never actually built it yourself. So then you slowly start to wither away and lose all the muscles because you don't know, even though you have it, you don't know how to maintain it because you never did it yourself. So it's kind of like the people in Sweden. They have all these values, they have this culture, but they didn't create the culture. They weren't there for it. So they don't understand what actually keeps it afloat. You know, they don't understand that. So it's like they understand their values and things like that, but they think that they can do things that would go against it, like by bringing in other people. And they think that's all hunky-dory. Not only that, but people in peaceful places usually are a bunch of idiots who don't know any better. You know, it's kind of that whole mindset. What's beyond the wall, right? Like kind of in Game of Thrones. What's beyond the wall? And then you go beyond the wall and it's with the zombies, right? And then you get probably killed because you didn't know any better. You think that the people are oppressing you with this wall. Look at this wall. It's so bigoted. They're keeping out the whole entire world. Oh, and these people have all these great things. And then you take down the wall. Then you get invaded and you're all killed by the zombies and things like that. You know, people of the past, trust me, they knew the world a lot better than the people today, especially these people who, according to some data I've seen, don't go outside very often. Most people don't go outside. Most people are lonely. Most people, most of these liberals, they don't really know anything. And whenever they do travel, it's in all these nice areas. You know, it's like you went to Mexico, but you made sure you're in this bubble. Like you didn't go into any of the normie areas. You didn't go into any of the bad areas. You know, you don't know anything about any of that stuff. You're just this, you're this little person in a bubble, and you have this little fantasy about, oh, everyone's gonna get along and all this crap. Everyone's different, but then we're also gonna somehow get along. You know, you only focus on the 18th century and you focus on that slavery. You don't focus on the entire world, and you don't focus on slavery around the world since the beginning of time. You only focus on slavery in the United States in like the 1800s and all of that. I'm a progressive. I just got back from a yield borderline liberal. Okay. I see the world for no. If you're a liberal, you don't see the world for the way it is. You're basically a liberal. Basically means you believe in a fantasy land where everyone's equal and everyone gets along and equal rights for everybody and just it's all like fantasy land. Like we might as well be watching a Toy Story movie. Wakandians control the world from the shadows and slaveries of myth. The Wakandians used to subvert the white man. Do we have Tariq Nasheed in there? Well, seems like no one wants to come on the show today. No one wants to come in here and give their take on anything. Liberals base everything on emotions. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, from what I've seen, the difference between the left and the right is essentially safety. Like you could put someone in like a certain kind of job, like let's say security. Like if you put like a liberal and you make him a cop, most likely he's going to become right wing. But if you put that right wing person in like a very safe and little bubble, like Silicon Valley or something like that, or like a really nice, like it has to be something really like keeps you away from everything. Like a college, some sort of safe space, they turn into like a lefty. It's all about environment is how you turn into things. Okay, Crypto Report says he's gonna come on. I just got back from Hawaii. Nobody there cares about Trump. That's a good thing. Of course, they're worried about lava right now, so it's a little bit more important than Trump. Shit, I'd come on. All right, come on, Ohio. What do you mean I'm here? I don't see anyone. Jump into one of the... What was that?
You're right. Most people have no clue about the world today. When people travel, they go to tourist destinations. They don't see the real thing. The white elephants is the real thing.
Thank you for that, but I don't see it in the chat. Here, let me. Oh, super chat. Here, let me have to refresh it. I don't know. For some reason, I've been having some computer problems lately. Is it gonna show the super chat? Obviously, we know it exists. I just heard it. Yeah, I'm like on the super chat screen and it's like saying no super. Okay, well, I mean, I was told by a viewer last stream that they donated $50, but why? No, that makes no sense. Why would it just show up 45 minutes into my stream? That's so weird. Who sent that? I know. Oh, is that Streamlabs? But then maybe it was J22. If I had to bet money, I would say it was J22 because he's the only one that actually donates to Streamlabs. I think Alphonsus did it one time. Here, I'll check Streamlabs because so that I could check it. That is weird. It should still pop up and all of that though. Give me a second, guys. I like to give credit to anyone who decides to throw me some shekels. It's part of it's part of what I do. It's part of what streamers do. Okay, so $5. Let's see. Okay, so it was J22. I knew it. Okay, so because he wants all of his money to go to me. He doesn't want the 30% to go to the YouTube. He wants the whole thing. So he knows how to do it. If you go to Streamlabs, 100% goes to me. If you do a super chat, 30% of it goes to YouTube. So oh, okay. So yeah, J22 report. He's the one that donated. Thank you for that. Just so you guys know, if my channel had gotten like blown up, I actually I have another channel. If you guys can please sub, it's called the White Elephants. So the HU White Elephant. So HU and then white. It's one word. Elephants. It's the same exact thing except for HU before white. It's White Elephants. So if you guys can sub there, that is the backup channel. Once this channel gets like 10,000 subs and it's a decent size, I'll most likely be streaming off that and then keep this for highlights, things like that is most likely what's going to happen because that's what all the other streamers do. And I do know that I do talk about edgy stuff. I got reported yesterday, so most likely that's what I'm going to have to do. So if you guys can please live stream there, sub there. Michelle, if you could be a doll, if you could find that channel, it might be difficult because it only has like 6 subs. If you could find it and then start chilling it in the chat, that would be great. Let me see. Let me go through the chat. Whoa. Ohio Norseman, thank you, buddy. Thank you, Betty Badass. If you guys are new,
using the Super Chat feature when Streamlabs is available is the equivalent of cucking.
Oh, J22 again. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's, don't give 30% to YouTube. I was actually thinking, press 1 if this is a good idea. Should I turn off super chats? Should I just turn them off so that the only way to donate is over Streamlabs? Good luck with 10,000. You probably got reported for being a racist. You got reported for thinking that people that look different actually behave differently. Oh my God. he believes that people behave differently. Oh my God, that's essentially what the whole concept of racism means. Most people use it incorrectly, though. Like most liberals and all that are very ignorant. They usually use they actually mean the word prejudice when they use. It's like they're trying to interconnect prejudice and racist together. Yeah, I was thinking the best thing to do is turn off super chats, and then I'll just have the Streamlabs link all over the place. Every other stream, just get rid of super chats. The only reason why I did it is because I figured that just like Patreon and PayPal, some people like using certain ways of donating. Like some people are just like, oh, I only do PayPal, or oh, I only do Patreon. So I figured it might be the same way. It's like either you only do Streamlabs or you only do super chats. I know I've donated to a lot of people. I do super chats just because obviously going to a separate link in a different place, I don't know, it just feels more complicated to me because you have to move off the site. But that's just me. All right, so let's see. So Asmodor wants to come on. Does anyone else want to come on? Or is this going to be the David and Asmodor show today? Is Discord different from Streamlabs? Yes, they're not the same thing. Don't get rid of super chats because some people use their phones and they might only be able to do super chat. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Hey, Ohio, if you want to come on, get in the chat. I don't want to be sitting here talking for 3 hours, so I'm going to have Asmodor on, and Ohio, if you want to come on, jump in the voice chat and I'll pull you over. Oh. Let's see what this donation is.
You may call him Mayo, Cracker, or Honky, and it will slide off him like water on a duck's back. But call him racist and be shocked in how he recoils. I've been found out. Quote.
Yeah, thank you. No Lies Matter with the $5. That is very true. You can call someone disgusting things, but if you call them a racist, all of a sudden they're talking about how many black friends they have. You know, they're talking about how their wife is 10% this and that. You know, it's a very weird thing to have to try to prove yourself to someone, you know, and that's why in the right they're very cringy because they do that. They're always trying to prove to the left. They're always trying to prove to them that they're not racist. They don't think there's any differences between anyone, even though they do. Even though they admitted that Jews are smarter than everyone else. That was their explanation for all the JQ talk and all that stuff with Jordan Peterson and basically all of them. They just say, oh, well, okay, well, we don't believe that it's tribalism or any conspiracy. We just believe that that there's race differences. All right, well, I see everything in the chat, so I'm going to look to see who I'm going to pull over Asmodor and Ohio. And Ohio, I'll just call him Ohio. You know, calling him Knicker Man is pretty funny, but I'll pull over those guys. What's up, Ohio? Oh, what the? Ohio.
I didn't know you switched me over. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, okay. I'll pull over Asmodor too.
All right.
All right. Hello, Asmodor and Ohio. What is up, guys?
What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I actually went to the trouble to plug in my microphone and stuff this time, so maybe people will be able to understand me. I I just logged on here, so I don't know what all you've been talking about, but I saw in the title the IBS drama, and I assume you're talking about like the stuff that was going on in Medicare's stream today.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Do you know what happened? Because I just saw a bunch of people screaming at each other.
apparently, everyone who does IBS is a child molester, according to everyone else who does IBS, and yeah, I mean, the stream was mostly a lot of like three or four people screaming over three or four other people. But the thing I don't get is, I mean, the most of these guys who are doing these IBS streams, I've been wondering for a while how long this stuff can carry on. Cause like I've always enjoyed what Medicare does through his various different personalities and things that he's been, but there's not very many people who can do what he does. And mostly he'll like, you know, when he does the internet insanity stuff, he'll pick out one really odd character, and like the research that he does on them is real. He just grabs stuff that they've actually done on YouTube and all that. But it's like, it seemed like there were a couple of these guys in the stream who were just slapping stuff together and making claims. It's like, you know, not only are they all pedophiles, but they've all been cucked by their best friend who banged their girlfriend and then beat them up. And it just went on and on with crap like that. And the thing that I wondered throughout is, you know, assuming that this stuff is not like set up between them, which I don't think it is. There's just too much crap. But if it was set up between them, I guess it would be a good way to try to get people interested in, you know, doing the super chats and stuff. But how long can you really go on of everybody accusing everybody else of doxing each other and all? And what is it these people are into that any of this is so important anyway? I mean, coming from the section of the internet that I'm in, you know, the alt-right, we have you know, our constant dox battles with Antifa and stuff like that. And when somebody who does what we do gets doxed, there are significant ramifications. People lose their jobs, and like one guy committed suicide the other day, a guy named Andrew Dodson, who, you know, his only crime was that he had gone to Charlottesville, and he got doxxed a few months back, and asked his family and a bunch of other stuff so much he committed suicide. And then in the obituary, Antifa went in there and went to trolling his family and stuff. But what, I mean, if you're just a guy who gets on the internet every day and people pay you to talk crap about other live streamers, where is all this huge drama and hatred coming from?
They really don't have no ideals either. Any of those guys, like any, like, I don't know, they don't have no political ideals. Like, they'll talk shit about SJWs and shit, but they'll never put their neck out for anything bigger than themselves.
Well, I know a lot of these people. I got into the community because of the really big Andy Worski stream he had, where it was Richard Spencer versus Sargon. So that's kind of how I got into the whole like political YouTube scene. And I think most of it was just a bunch of like classical liberal skeptics, and they were going after the left. You know, the anti-SJW community was essentially what they were. And because of like all of the alt-right debates or white nationalists or whatever you call them, I don't know, I just saw that all the debates was basically the alt-right winning. Like they would fight all the skeptics, and they would beat them like on the race realism stuff. I think it was pretty conclusive. And then now it's like on the JQ kind of stuff is kind of the conversations. But it seemed like the alt-right, the liberalists, the skeptics, the anti-SJW people, they only went after SJWs. But because the SJWs essentially blocked everyone and they didn't want to have anything to do with the debates, we essentially just started fighting with ourselves. And I see that a lot in my Discord when it comes to like when we're bored, we'll essentially like fight each other on like our small differences, like on religion and stuff. We'll just start saying, "Hey, fuck you, you worship you know, a zombie on a stick," and then they'll call, you know, like pagans a bunch of larpers, and just like a lot of fighting. But I see that the whole community is essentially just, they are like, they're not in it, like they put themselves in positions to make money, but I don't think that they're like just a bunch of merchants. But I think the blood sports and all that stuff, I don't really see. I just feel like, and you guys can give your take, but I feel like it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier to the point where, like, we saw JF and Worski left each other, and I think a lot of bridges, because at some point people are like starting to create drama, like they're trying to recreate like another Baked Alaska, like write this stuff. To me, it feels like they're trying to find another Baked Alaska. They're trying to say, oh, look at this, you see this, oh, you're a piece of shit, you see that, you're Baked Alaska now, like let's get rid of you. And I feel like, go ahead.
You mean like they're trying to make their opponent into another Baked Alaska then?
Yeah.
Because what my question was, why would you want to be another Baked Alaska? Because he wrecked himself. But I see I know what you mean about the way that the online communities feed on themselves. I've been doing this forever, and I've never seen one that didn't do it. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that on the internet there are no consequences. And the people who are most aggressive with that stuff have really managed to develop a culture where, if somebody gets mad and says, look, I'll kick your ass or something like that, it's like they put that in the cringe file or whatever, because back before there was the internet, if you told somebody, I think your kids are ugly and your wife's a whore, all this stuff, you'd get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
But yeah, the internet causes a lot of that. But yeah, I came in the same way you did. I think the first time I was even made aware of the term internet blood sports was that same stream when Worski, it may have been a stream or two earlier, but one of the very early ones was Worski and JF having Spencer on to debate Sargon, which interested me because Sargon has always been someone who's supposed to be such a badass, and he can never handle more than 2 or 3 back and forths with me, and he'd block or he'd run away or whatever. Like I went on the Baked Alaska stream that had Anglin. I went on there and I just started confronting Sargon and behaving the same way that he was. He'd spent the whole stream shouting over everyone and giggling at them and all that. And I started doing the same thing to him. And the real kill shot was I was confronting him about race, that he wouldn't admit anything about race. And he tried to tell me that the biggest crime problem in Great Britain was white people stabbing people. And I was like, no, you're full of shit. And he says, oh, no, look it up, mate. It's the Shavs. And I was like, well, I'm not going to look it up right now, but point me to the Shav rape gangs. And he was, and Baked Alaska immediately, because, he's such an ass kisser, on to run away or to not ever come on another one of his streams. And he muted me. And I was trying to talk to Sargon, and now Sargon's kicking my ass because he's saying all this stuff and can't come back. But yeah, anyway, I kind of digressed there, but I've had a long history with Sargon. The first time I ran across him was one of the first things that got me attention on the internet. Was back in 2014 when they were having the migrant crisis that they were calling the boat crisis, where they were all coming across the Mediterranean on boats. Sargon was advocating that they had to rescue the people on the boats and bring them to Europe and all this other stuff. And I was one of the guys pushing the hashtag sink the boats. And when Sargon and Anglin were having a famous back and forth where Sargon was claiming that, and he claimed this to me in our little argument too, that got me featured on Daily Stormer, where he said, mate, if we didn't have these Muslims over here raping children, do you think there wouldn't be someone to rape them? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, no, they're all white rapists. If the Muslims weren't here doing this, the white rapists would be doing it too. And I'm like, no, there's something you're just totally not getting about this, Sargon. I mean, if you have 2 rapists and you remove one of them, half the rape is gone. But anyway, all that stuff was really cool when they were doing it, where not necessarily even somebody alt-right all the time, but they would have right wing and the left wing to come on and really go at it. Or like I think my favorite one that I saw was Nick. I know you don't like the guy, but Nick Fuentes versus Halsey was a really good one.
Well, I mean, just to be clear, I mean, I criticize people, and I like JF has blocked me on Twitter, and then Fuentes has blocked me. So when I see a situation, I throw in my 2 cents, and if someone decides to block me, because look, I don't have like thousands of people. I don't really have much of anything on my Twitter. So if some like nobody account with like no likes, like doesn't get any retweets, and he says something about, hey, I think you're being a faggot in this situation, then I get blocked. I mean, I think that's pretty gay. But I mean, for the most part, I agree with most of what Nick says. It's just I think blocking people is pretty gay.
I think Nick's a really talented young guy, but I think like most internet personalities, when they start getting popular in the alt-right, I know he says he's not all right, but guess what? He is. I mean, and that's one of the things that when I was listening to the people who came on after me last time I came on, that I wished I'd gone into. Alt-right, umbrella term. It really is. And there are all different factions in it. There are people who are straight up call themselves national socialists, and I'd refer to myself as an American nationalist, but I'm definitely alt-right. I mean, alt-right, since the term got big and well, it really blew up right after Trump announced he was running, but it means what it sounds like it means: alternative right. It's an alternative to the regular what passes as the right wing in Western democracies, like in America, the Republican Party. But so Nick is all right. And the other thing is that I would criticize him about, and it's not really a criticism. I mean, he's doing a great job, but he names the Jew enough that it doesn't do him any good to distance himself from people who do it more. I don't think. I think if you do that at all, the media is going to portray you as this thing he doesn't want to be portrayed as anyway. But hey, he's doing good, so good for him. But yeah, the internet blood sports thing, ever since Andy and JF split up, it hasn't been about politics anymore. It's been all about, like, you watch Ralph retort or the Kumite or whatever.
I am up to all them.
Did Sweet Aaron masturbate on camera and stuff like that?
Degenerate shit.
Oh, that was the most disgusting thing. Like, oh god. Like when I saw like Mr. Medicare posted like a photo of the stream with her hand down her pants. Oh my god, I almost threw up. It was so disgusting. The thought of like that fucking weirdo doing something like that. Because I don't want to go into it, but essentially, I can't go into it. But it was disgusting.
The thing is, I feel bad for her because I mean, most of my audience knows. I don't know how much your audience on here knows, but I've been sober for over 11 years, but I was an alcoholic and a speed freak and all like that for a long time. I've known all along, just looking at her, that Erin had a problem worse than Adderall. She has a meth problem. And I saw some screen caps from, apparently there are at least 2 of these Periscope streams where she does this, and then one that she posted just the other night that I think's the one Medicare posted a picture from. At one point she's laying on that bed in the Airbnb, and there's like this foil with this brown stuff in it. I'm like, she didn't hide the foil where she's smoking the ice, man. So I mean, I feel sorry for her because I've always told everybody, thank God I quit drinking and all before I started posting on the internet. Yeah. Because had I not, there'd be a million more things that embarrass me than just the stupid shit I do from time to time when I'm sober.
Yeah, I do feel bad for the people today because when you do something, it does like essentially last forever. Whereas in the past, like, maybe someone could take a picture of you when you were drunk or something, but now people could do a full on video.
Do you think it's an effective way to change them? To make them more trad?
Oh, if you make them super degenerate?
I mean, no, he's saying that it all gets recorded and people make videos about it and stuff, but for the most part, no, I don't think so. I think I really think that people who the age of 30 or younger have a callus on whatever part of you it is that causes embarrassment. At least the ones who put themselves out here and do all this stupid shit on the internet all the time because stuff. And you would think, like, you know, claims that she's all trad and has only ever had one boyfriend and all, gets exposed having a couple of streams where she's masturbating and showing herself off and everything, that she would just like close all the accounts and go away. But no, next day back on, you know, doing the Sweet Aaron live streams and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where that's going to go, but I saw that she essentially, you know, obviously the Baked Alaska boat was collapsing, so she jumped off and got onto the Ice Poseidon one. She showed up on these, they did an RV stream where they drove from LA all the way up to, I think it was Portland. And actually they did a stream where they're running around triggering a bunch of the leftists there, which was cool because like the entire live streaming community, the IRL one at least, they're basically all right wing. And I think it's because they're always outside all the time. You know, there's a lot of, they understand that it's dangerous outside. So I think that's why they're right wing. But I mean, she was doing all that stuff with them, but I think at some point they're just going to get bored of her and they're just going to throw her out. And she can't make content. So I hope, you know, because did you see that stream she did where her parents were yelling at her and she was hiding in the bathroom live streaming?
That was like the day after all the stuff blew up on Baked Alaska's channel.
Yeah, she was like, her parents were like, what are we going to do with her? She's a loser. She just sits at her home all day with this loser boyfriend. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't do anything. She's like, you know, well into her 30s or something like that. So, and then now she's, I don't know. I think she's just some loser that's trying to get famous so she doesn't have to get a, you know, a real job kind of thing.
The super chats, they're like the gold at the bottom of the rainbow. Everybody's after them, you know. And but the weird, not weird, the sad thing, I guess, is this live streaming you can do such phenomenal things with it, but when you just do it all the time, like if, you know, when you're one of these IRL streamers who just has the live stream turned on all the time and you just trying to think up a reason to stick your face in front of it. So you know, 4 or 5 hours every day, at least, so you can get as many super chats as possible. You just turn it into this commercial piece of garbage. I mean, I've done some fairly famous live streaming, but it's always been, you know, something where there was, you know, really something to see. Like we went to Houston, myself and members of Stormer Book Club and members of Patriot Front and a few guys from TRS pool parties and such, because we had found out ahead of time that Antifa was having what they called an anarchist book fair at this community center down in Houston. And we showed up right at the time that this guy who's a big Antifa writer in Austin named Kid O'Connell was having a conference called Punch a Nazi, where he was teaching the people there how to get out and really get physical and beat up these bad right wingers and stuff like that. And so I started the live stream as we were driving to it. And no, you know, there's no knowing how this is going to end up, you know, what's going to happen. And so we pull up there and they all ran inside. There were like 300 of them. There were 29 of us, and they all ran inside and barricaded themselves indoors and called the police. And they immediately started contacting the local paper and talking about we had terrorized them and everything. And that video is over on my channel, but unfortunately, YouTube did the memory hole thing with it, where you can't search for it. And, you know, it's got because it didn't violate terms of service, but like a million Antifa complained. But I think if you do a YouTube search for Asmodor Houston Book Fair, something like that, you can find mirrors where other people have put up at least part of it. But that, and like I live streamed the Charlottesville stuff. And, you know, a lot of people have done that. I've seen like Red Elephants doing the live streams of the protest and Vince sneaking around and getting interviews with Antifa and stuff like that. And the live streaming is great. But I guess it's just like anything to do with the internet. I remember when I first got on the internet, which was back in the 90s, and I'd been reading about, oh, this internet's going to be it's going to save the world. It's going to be this place where people go and think deep thoughts and all the world's knowledge is on there and everything. And by like 1994, when I got on there, I got to looking and I was like, there's nothing here but porn and people selling shit. and that's basically, that's what live streaming is coming to. It can be such a great tool, but people are just, the 90% of it is just this crap where people are trying to think up a reason to get on there.
Yeah, I have to agree. Being in the I wouldn't say I'm in the live streaming community because I got into live streaming because, well, first of all, Vincent from the Red Elephants contacted me and then he told me that he does this. So then he asked me because he can't show up to all the events. So he asked me to do it. Then I started because I didn't know anything about live streaming. Like my first live stream, I actually did the live stream like this when you're supposed to do it like that. So I was very terrible at it at first, but I only did it when I went to events. I would go to an event, I would live stream it. I went to a white privilege seminar, I live streamed it. I went to Berkeley. Well, actually, when I went to Berkeley, I didn't live stream it because I just wanted to like protect people and things like that. So I actually wasn't even live streaming. But usually when I go to political events, I live stream it because obviously the media won't pick it up, or if they do, they'll make it look a different way. So I need whatever I see, everyone else needs to see. So that was my whole mindset for live streaming. But I have seen that ever since the IRL live streaming, the Ice Poseidon stuff has turned into a thing. It's just a bunch of, yeah, like you said, it's just a bunch of like degenerate people running around, harassing people all day. And like whenever I do IRL stuff, I try to keep it political. So I go around, I ask people questions. Like my last one, I went around and I asked people what their thoughts on the whole Syria conflict was and were they pro-war, anti-war. So I kept it pretty political and things like that. But I don't know how you would run around all day and do it's like I don't know how they create content. And like you said, with the Warski people and all of that, it was essentially political. They were talking about ideas and things like that. And now they've turned it into kind of like just starting fights with other YouTubers. And I like Andy Warski. I consider him an internet friend. I also like JF, even though he censored me and things like that. But if you want to hear politics, I don't really talk about anything else here.
Right. And it doesn't necessarily have to even be politics or whatever, but just some content. I mean, and I guess maybe partially because I'm older or whatever, but also because of, the fact that I try to do polished stuff where I go and edit it and put things in and everything. When I'm doing my more serious stuff, it's usually radio, but a lot of these guys are doing the live streams like it's live radio, and that's cool too. But not if they're all trying to be Opie and Anthony. And I think that's a lot of what's going on here is they're all trying to be Opie and Anthony. And it's only entertaining up to a certain degree, in my opinion. I mean, obviously there are thousands of people who disagree with me at this time, but I don't see this going on forever. I mean, sooner or later, some of these guys who each other of being child molesters, and like tonight they were accusing Tonka's father of being a child molester in prison and all this other stuff and doxing family members. So sooner or later, one of these people is going to lose it and get their card, go kill one of the other ones. And I mean, it's bound to happen if this keeps going on, because these people have set this up as like, this is the business model. And there's a whole planet of it with all these people orbiting around and egging it on and digging up stuff and doxing people and all. And I don't know. It's a very ugly thing. I hate to see, like I said, I hate to see a format this good get that way, but that super chat money just almost guarantees it happening.
Yeah, like I understand the need to have content. Usually when there's drama, that's more content. More content means more viewers and subs, and that usually equals more super chats and things like that. That's kind of the mindset. But I think it gets to a point where when your stream is literally one guy doxed other people, but he's mad because the guy he got to dox people doxed him. And so, and you're going to do a live stream based off that. And then now other people could get, like, at some point you just had to say, these people aren't good people. We need to just ignore them, because otherwise it's going to wind up, like you said, where people are going to start meeting up in person and fighting each other, or everyone's going to get doxed, or people's accounts are going to get hacked. Like, these are our guys here. So if you go one step, they'll go the next step, and because no one wants to be a bitch, right? So they're going to keep going until things get really serious. I think after today, I think Worski and these guys just need to say, look, we can have drama, but not serious drama. Like, we don't need people getting doxxed and all of that, because it's getting really serious at this point. I think if someone doxes someone, everyone should just say, screw that guy, and leave it there. But you brought up entertainment, and I have a proposition for you, Asmodor, because in the on-air waiting room, we have Dylon. What would you want to, should we bring him on at all? And
I don't mind bringing him on, but to be honest with you, I don't feel like I'm not going to be as rough with him as last time. I kind of felt bad afterwards, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he understands the mindset of the alt-right, and he understands, because he's like 80% Jewish or something, that technically he isn't Jewish. I mean, he is an alt-right, and he has agreed to that, but he says he still wants to be an alt-right sympathizer. So
you can't tell somebody what they can or cannot sympathize with.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, whatever.
Do you think this is the IBS drama bullshit is their way of subverting our movement? Like, they're going to attempt that a few times. They're not just going to let us go freely, reign freely.
As a really part of, I mean, they're not part of like whatever movement it is I'm in, I don't think. And
yeah, they're
themselves is that. I mean, probably the closest out of all of them would be JF. And JF is doing a pretty much straight political interview show now.
What's your thoughts on all of the like purity spiraling things? Because I've seen there's been a lot of infighting on like the differences on like Pat Little and then like I know on the Red Elephants, like Mike Enoch was asked about, I don't know if you know who Pat Little is, but he was asked and he was very I don't know, I just see differences in like strategy going on in the alt-right.
The thing about Pat Little is, I hate to talk about him at all, because the guy has some kind of a beef with me and Daily Stormer and people at Daily Stormer. And there's a whole group of these purity spiralers, and they mostly have been consigned to Gab. And they've got and I can see there are a few of them in the chat here. But the thing with Little is, like, we featured him on Daily Stormer one time not long ago. He went and did a protest at Twitter. And I think it was like on a day when some of the new censorship stuff went into effect, or maybe he was just mad that they had censored him. I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty good. He went and like these two extremely Jewish guys showed up and just started harassing the hell out of him. We featured the video, but then before we even knew he was running for California, or I guess it's not Senate, I guess it's Congress. He's running against Feinstein. I think she's a congressman, right?
Yeah, I think so.
She's not one of your senators, is she? Okay. Anyway, whatever it is, well, she might be the senator. I don't know. I'm not from there, but anyway, whatever it is he's running for, I guess Senate. Knew he was doing it. He was really ragging on Daily Stormer with these BS points that a lot of people try to bring up about, oh, we're controlled opposition and all this. And then, Stormer Book Club is an organization that I'm very involved with, where young people who agree with what we're doing, we have local groups that meet up, and they focus on things like working out, getting fit, doing local political activism. And we're we're very careful about anonymity. We don't use real names online or in person and all that. And they've done some pretty famous flyering campaigns recently. They've got a big write up on the ADL website that we were all proud of. And anyway, he announced on Gab that he had this server that he wanted people to join if they wanted to help him dox Stormer Book Club members and some other stuff. And then the next thing I know, he's like making up these weird stories about me, like claiming that I left a bunch of our guys behind and told this van we were in to take off when we were leaving the park in Charlottesville because I wanted to be interviewed by Vice. Now, I was interviewed by Vice. They were on that van, but there were empty seats for one thing. There wasn't
well, that Vice person, was that weird looking blonde chick?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And and so there were empty seats on the van when it took off. And it wasn't me telling the van to take off. Somebody driving the van was in such a hurry that we had to make them, and it was a hairy, scary situation, no doubt about it. But somebody driving that van was in such a hurry to peel on out of there that we had to make them stop to let my cameraman on. I got on and they slammed the door shut in his face and started driving off. And I was like, hey, my cameraman. And Little makes up this story. And like, then he did a live stream about it. And I got into the Spurg channel in his live stream telling, hey, man, let me on the stream and we'll discuss this because I got video proving you're wrong. And he and I had been through that on Gab once before. And I posted the video. I'm like, look, nowhere do I tell the van to take off. When the van takes off, there's empty seats and we have to make you stop to let my cameraman on. So he's making up all these weird stories about us and stuff and claiming that we have ignored him and censored him and all this. But I mean, it's just odd. And the other thing is, I mean, I agree with most of the stuff that he says about Jews, but I mean, it's one thing for a guy like me to say that stuff. I'm not running for office and I'm never going to run for office. And like, I'm a guy who considers it my job to take a chainsaw to the right side of the Overton window, you know, and I take a lot of heat off other people stuff who don't want to go that hard on it. But if you're actually, you know, you're trying to run for office and stuff like that, and you're just screaming about gas the kikes and the Jews and anybody, I'm going to pass a law that anybody who ought to give any funds to Israel gets the death penalty by hanging and all that. You're just making an ass of yourself. You're not being serious about running for office. And anybody who is following Patrick Little and who is either in this chat or anywhere on the internet saying, oh, you got to support Patrick Little and because by golly, he's got a chance. He's got a chance. No, you're a fool. You're a fool if you think that. And you're even a fool if you think Feinstein's going to debate him.
I was hoping they would.
Yeah, I know those statements are going to cause a lot of drama. I'm keeping my eyes on the chat right now.
You know, I try to support anybody who wants to do whatever, but I mean, and now I'm not or the publisher of Daily Stormer. I'm just one of the guys who works there. But so I can't speak to why he is or isn't on Daily Stormer. But I can tell you why he's never been on the Crypto Report or why I've never written about him or anything is, I mean, you're going to come attacking me and claiming that I was a traitor to a bunch of guys, and you're going to come attacking Daily Stormer talking about Weave's a Jew and the whole website is controlled opposition, and you make up 1,000 more lies about us. I mean, where are we? Or, you know, where's our responsibility to be promoting you? Especially when you make threats like you're going to start doxing these young guys who have joined Stormer Book Club because they're willing to actually go out and meet space and do activism.
Yeah, he did have a stream, and I haven't watched it, so I can't give context or anything, but he did have a stream where he said that he was actually, like, on the whole Paul Nealon, Cantwell situation, he actually said he was pro-doxing.
And I'm not. Now, as far as, like, if you want to dox Antifa or something like that, okay, whatever. I don't have any problems with that, and I've done that in the past. But if you're going to sit around and this is becoming a real problem, you know, we were just talking about how this is going on with these people, but I mean, it's going on in the alt-right too. And it's all these Johnny come latelys who want to do it. You just get a beef with somebody, you know, you have a disagreement with somebody. I don't like what they said or whatever. And dedicate your life to doxing them. That's, I mean, you're a traitor. Is the one thing that right now where we are, you know, in society is if people are afraid that if they get involved with this movement, that in the movement is going to, or who at least who claims to be, is going to dox them, which is going to cause them to have all this fallout, get kicked out of school, lose their jobs on the outs with their family, and who knows what. People are going to, you know, anybody who has anything to lose is going to be afraid to be a part of this movement or to support it in any way. And so if you think that's okay, if you think it's okay to dox somebody because you disagree with them or you don't like something they said when they are ostensibly in movement, you know, I just, I don't go along with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, you brought up the individual that went to Charlottesville, and because he got doxxed, it was so bad that he committed suicide. And just in the right in general, there was, I don't know if you know about that Jewish lawyer that told some Spanish-speaking individuals that they should speak English and that he would call ICE on them. And because of it, he is possibly going to get disbarred. He got kicked out of his office space. They held a protest in front of his house. So, I mean, just with people on the right, I mean, we're already getting doxxed, and then some people are going to try to like help the left. I'm just anti-doxing because I've seen how bad it is. So I wouldn't want to contribute to that at all.
Yeah, and I mean, I am aware of that situation, and I mean, you know, what did the guy do really? I mean, he went into this place where he eats and he got sick of hearing all this Spanish jibber jabber around him. And believe me, I live in Texas. I understand, you know, right here where I live 25 years ago, there were no Mexicans. I didn't have to go listen to Spanish anywhere. The extent that I would have contact with Spanish was on the menu if I went to a Mexican restaurant. And, you know, now they're, in Texas, there are almost as many Mexicans as there are white people, and whites are actually not the majority here anymore. And I get sick of it too. And it's even worse when you look around all day and you know these people are not here legally, and you're like, you know, why do we have to tolerate this? And the guy just got sick of it one day, and he blew up a little bit, and somebody yanked out their cell phone and recorded him, and now his life's wrecked. You know, a guy who I'm sure had a pretty good life, a Jew lawyer in New York. I'm sure he was doing kind of well. And yeah, but I mean, imagine how this affects somebody who is just barely getting by. I mean, like there's a waitress somewhere, and I know for a fact this has happened. I met this girl in Austin at an event where I went and spoke, and she was telling me how she had been a waitress at some Italian food restaurant, like not an expensive one, like a spaghetti warehouse type thing or whatever. And on the day they had the MAGA march or whatever it was right after Trump got elected, they got her on camera wearing a Trump hat, and she had her right arm extended, if you know what I mean. And they doxed her, and the Antifa starts and, you know, and making threats and stuff till they fire. So this young girl who's, you know, having to depend on this paycheck week to week to have a roof over her head and all that suddenly can't work because, you know, she's been doxxed. It's a whole mess. And I don't think the people who are doing this, for the most part, and this is me trying to be charitable here, I don't think the people who are doing this are really through and experiencing the reality of what they're doing in their mind before they do it. It all seems like a game, and it's not real because the only connection they have to it is the screen in front of them.
Yeah, they press a button or they find some information. Like you said, it's like it's not like they're killing somebody, but I mean, they might as well, because this person, they probably can't get a job anymore. their relationships. Who knows what their family is? I know. I don't know if you know Ashton Birdie, but she made a video on how her parents and her entire family are basically like communist Antifa. And, when she came out as a Republican, they completely disowned her. And she said she probably can't get a job in the area anymore. So it's, in some ways, having your whole life destroyed is I mean, to anyone that ever gets doxxed, there's, probably seek help, right? If you're in a movement, there's a lot of people that will probably help you and things like that. Is
Yeah,
what
well,
I'll say,
hopefully you would hope so. In her case, at the very least, she's young and educated and good looking, so she can always move somewhere and do quite well. I mean, that's really the most important thing in the world nowadays, isn't it? To be good looking.
Yeah. With her, she could just get married to anybody, and they'll just, all right, well, just stay home, take care of the kids, and I'll make the money. No guy can do that. But
depending on what she's studying, it can be a big advantage in employment too.
Right. All right. So people are saying that there's people in the waiting room. I don't want to bring over too many people because last time I had like 6 people in here, and that was an entire shit show. But who should I pull over first? Should I pull over Jewel Rifle or Dylon first?
A coin, man.
All right, I'll pull over Dylon first. How's it going, Dylon? Dylon, are you there? So maybe he stepped away for a little bit. I'll pull. Oh wait, okay. Let me pull him back again. Dylon. Oh damn, I can't hear him for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go. Now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
What's up? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Wanted to say?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Okay, I'm hearing an echo though. How come I'm hearing it twice?
Do you got your screen on YouTube?
I don't think anyone can hear me.
Tube video, dude.
Hello. I'll reset my mic. That's how great Discord is. It's awesome. I'm having to reset everything. Hello?
Okay, I think I got it. Yes. Hey.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. I had to reset everything.
What's up, Asmodor, my best friend, BFF.
That's funny. So,
I was. Go ahead.
Oh, so Dylon, you just happened to come in here. Was it because you saw Asmodor was on and you had to come on and
yeah.
I
thought we could do a blood sports. I'm gonna be back in a few minutes. Yeah, I thought we could do a little blood sports.
Over what?
Well, I feel like it won't be that hard, right? Me and Asmodor are just gonna butt heads on anything. He's not even if we do agree, he's probably gonna want to counter signal me. So I thought it could get good.
Well,
but here, I'll start with this. I went out to Hermosa Beach last night, and I actually did a stream on my YouTube, which I've changed the name to Chagit. So if you just type in Chagit, you'll find me. So I did a stream out in Hermosa Beach. I had a Hillary Clinton shirt and a Donald Trump hat. And I went up to people and I asked them if they were chill with Hill or down with Trump. And you would be shocked how many Trump people there were. It's like, have you been there, David?
Yeah, I've been there.
It's kind of like an alternate universe.
I mean, it is very white, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's hot people there too. Like in LA, I haven't really seen much evidence of the stereotype. LA is full of beautiful people and all that, but I saw it in Hermosa Beach. I was like, well, maybe the stereotype's true here.
LA's full of Guatemalans, isn't it?
It's full.
Well, I would say that if you go to an area that's wealthy, then essentially you'll have nothing but probably like Asians, Jews, and white people in that area.
That's every big city.
They're all nasty though. Like Beverly Hills, Hall. I mean, this is the stereotype, right? And it's so not true.
For what? What's the stereotype?
Where am I supposed to go, right? I've been to Hollywood. I've been to Beverly Hills. Downtown Los Angeles. The stereotype is Los Angeles, most beautiful women in the world, right? I see no evidence.
Chad, Broseph wants to know hot people or hot girls. What are you talking about?
Hot girls, but there was also like some guys, let's just say I wouldn't want to stand next to, right? Like I can recognize competition, you know, I can see objectively, but I'm looking at the girls. I mean, but generally like it's both. I mean, if there's ugly girls, it's probably ugly guys. If there's hot girls, it's probably the same with the guys.
Your favorite part on a woman? Are you like an ass man, a tit man?
No, I like tits. Okay.
You should do a music video about that, about how much you like it.
I don't understand how anybody can like ass better. Like, I just don't get it, because men have ass. What's so special about an ass, right?
A man's ass and a woman's ass look totally different.
But tits, men don't have tits at all.
Well,
like, how can you not
say that in the age of soy?
The age of soy, yeah. The age of McDonald's. I don't know, Dylan. But I will tell you though, you brought up L.A. and Hollywood. Those places I don't consider them like high class places. I consider them very low class. I mean, there's nothing but like people with mental illnesses running around those areas. So I mean, I would consider Beverly Hills to be very high class. I went there. I forgot why I went there, but I was there not that long. Oh, I had to go to a museum, and I was there, and it was very clean. You know, nothing. It was very homogeneous in a lot of ways. Same thing with Hermosa.
But there's not a lot of beautiful women in Beverly Hills.
Where, I mean, I wasn't really looking around because, you know, obviously I'm not single,
not even.
But I would say if I was looking for them,
Hermosa Beach.
Well, if I was looking for them, I would go to probably Hermosa more so than I would go to like downtown LA or something like that.
But what do we hear? Right? The stereotype is Los Angeles. Oh, so beautiful women, so many hot women. It's Los Angeles. That's the stereotype. And so I just find it interesting.
People in the rest of the country still think that, man. I know I don't. And I'm Texas. I mean, people think, you know, like that at one time California was full of beautiful women. The Beach Boys made a song about it 50 years ago, but everybody knows California, at least Southern California.
No, they don't. Even people here think that. I have to get in arguments with people all the time. They're like, "What are you talking about, dude? There's so many beautiful women around here." I'm like, "No, you are lying.
Well,
but this is great. I knew we would be able to get an argument going about something. We've already got it.
We're not trying to cause drama, you know.
I'm not. Very
we don't have to try.
Topic,
we don't have to try. We're doing it.
Well, I would say when it comes to whoever you're asking, if their preference is South American women, then yeah, there's probably a lot of good-looking women around. But if you're looking for white women or anything like that, good luck.
I think, but there's objective standards to beauty, right? Like in shape, good-looking face. I mean, beauty is beauty. I hate that whole like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's like beauty is scientific.
No, to a certain degree, it's in one way, in that like we're genetically predisposed to be attracted to features in the opposite sex that are indicative of them being good at reproduction, being a good partner to make children with. Like, you want everything to be symmetrical. Like
nice hips.
Even when it comes to the face, like if a person has one ear way higher than the other, okay, that just naturally is off-putting. Or if their eyes if they're cockeyed or cross-eyed, you know, things like that. If their facial features are off. But yeah, the hips, the breasts and things on women, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. But
Yeah.
the majority of it is subjective. And it's societal. It's whatever is being pushed by the image makers in society. And if you don't believe that, then just look at the changes over who the top models and beloved beautiful actresses are. I mean, like in the 50s and early 60s, the most worshipped actresses like Marilyn Monroe, who's obviously a very beautiful woman, but not thin by any means. Then you fast forward to the 80s and it's Michelle Pfeiffer, who's, you know, thin as a reed. And these standards change over time. And the fact that they change as rapidly as they do means that they are
I would call
objective.
those pretty moderate. I would call those pretty modest changes. I think generally ugly is ugly and beautiful is beautiful. And most people agree.
Well, okay.
But this is great. Look, we didn't have to try hard at all. We're doing it here. Blood sports.
Agree. Tyrone wants a woman with a great big old booty.
I was gonna say, even when it comes to racial lines, right? Like it's still like generally like not overweight, right? Like yeah, they like girls a little thicker in like the black community, but like they still don't like fat girls. It's still, if you watch a rap music video, the girls are not fat. They're just kind of thick. They're not overweight.
A rap music video is not made for black people for the most part. Black people are not the ones. Black people are not the ones buying.
Well, certain rap. They're not
music. Who's buying it?
So what is played on urban contemporary radio stations that are targeted towards African American audiences?
Free, but who's buying?
There's certain rappers that white kids tend to like more, and there's certain rappers that black people tend to like more. They actually talked about this on the Daily.
Who sells the records?
What black people listen to rap music? It's just kind of different rap music. There's different rappers that white kids and black kids like. They actually talked about this on the Daily Show.
There's rappers that make the Jewish music industry millions and billions of dollars, and then there's the ones that only black people listen to.
There you go. But they still, make good money if they're famous within like Young Jeezy, for example. Like not a lot of white kids listen to Young Jeezy. He's more of like a straight urban rap artist. They talked about this on the Daily Show. They were saying like white kids like all that lyrical rap, like where it's like, you know, metaphors and shit, and then black people like I'm in love with the cocoa, like stuff like that. And Mike Enoch was like, you realize that's the more authentically black rap music, right?
The only thing I ever hear when I hear rap is ook ook eek eek.
Yeah, there's certain rappers that white kids tend to like Macklemore, for example. You know who he is? That is like a white kid rapper, like Kid Cudi or Eminem, like people like that.
I don't like rap at all. I'm old.
Well, then you don't really know what you're talking about. I do.
Because it's my job to report on culture. I report on culture.
All right. Well, I know a lot about the music industry.
Look, I don't like Jews either, but I know all about them.
Well, I know a lot about the music industry, and urban contemporary stations are targeted towards African American audiences. They play rap and R&B.
Means is people are listening to it for free. Okay, I'm talking about
advertising. Yeah, streaming. Yeah, there are certain artists that they tend to be the ones played on urban contemporary radio that only African American audiences like. Like R&B, for example. No white people listen to R&B. That's like exclusively a black thing.
What about jazz? What's your take on jazz?
Well, white people. Have you seen the stuff white people like list? One of the things on there is black music that black people don't listen to anymore. Right, so white people love black music that's like outdated. So they like old school reggae, jazz, old school rap, anything that's like 2 generations behind black music.
Yeah, because it was good back then.
Yeah,
See, that's what they say.
Yeah, I think that the further it's been going, the kind of like lower IQ it's gotten. Like you brought up, they're just talking about. Like, there's been some really, like, there was a song that was made by a woman, and it was just like, like, there was a part where it was just full retard. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, not. I don't know exactly what you mean, but
Yeah, there's just like you brought up like the Coco song where they're just talking about genitals and it's just getting more vulgar and just
yeah.
dumb and
Even black people are getting tired of that shit, though.
But don't we always say this? Like 20 years ago, they probably said it too, and then 20 years before that, they probably said it too. Like, oh, music nowadays it sucks. It's nothing like the old days. It's like always.
could be,
No,
but I don't know
really.
how much further they could go, really. I mean, at some point, like for instance, with the degenerate stuff, it's getting so degenerate that people are actually saying, "Hey, let's be trad now." So at some point, there's a cliff, and you fall off, and then it like the cycle restarts again. So at some point, for the music industry,
Yeah.
it's going to be edgy for someone to go back to, like classical reggae, but with some sort of twist on it. Like I feel like at some point, it's going to go back in a circle again.
It's
So
a
something
classical rock degenerate.
type of a singularity will have to occur that completely changes the music industry, because the thing that has wrecked music for the most popular music for the most part doesn't have anything to do with what style of music's being played or anything like that. It's that at some point in the mid to late 1990s, the music industry shifted completely from the model that it had always been in, where they had talent. What is this noise?
Dial, are you driving around or something?
I'm sorry, I'm by a road here. Let me walk over here.
Oh, just mute yourself when you're not talking.
Yeah. Anyway,
Gotcha.
where they had talent scouts forever who would go out and they would find up and coming live acts who wrote their songs and performed them and all that. And you would have bands and artists and things like that. And now are starting at some point in the mid to late 1990s, there was this sudden shift. Doing that, they would just create it because they were already coming up with tools that they could use in the studios to make people who sound like they could sing on record, and they would get some hack songwriters to put some stuff together, and it was just all about image. And unfortunately, that's what most of music is about now, is image. I mean, image was always kind of a big thing as far as marketing went and all that, but not like it became once the music industry became this, well, as long as they look good and they can dance or whatever, we can work out the singing part. And we got people to write these songs for them.
One thing I really am tired of hearing, though, is people, I don't know if people actually say this anymore, but I used to hear people complain about music videos nowadays. Like, oh, it's nothing like the old days of MTV when MTV played music. Music videos nowadays suck. It's like, have you watched a video in the last decade? Because of YouTube, right? YouTube has like given CPR to the music video, and music videos now are more creative than ever, because every music video has to have like something to draw you in, because Billboard actually uses YouTube views from music videos for the chart on the Billboard charts now. So literally, like, it matters more than ever, and we're in a renaissance of music videos. Like, this is the golden age right here.
I don't know. Some music videos look like some demonic ritual shit where they're all inside of a cage and doing weird shit and bowing down.
The point is every music video now has like all this cinematic stuff. There's like a story, or there's something, there's just something in there's no boring music videos anymore. And in the 90s, music videos were almost irrelevant because MTV had stopped playing videos, but there was also no YouTube, right? So music videos, if you watch them from the 90s, they suck. There's nothing happening. It's just the band in a dark room performing. That's it. But now you can't get away with that. Every music video, they're honestly more creative now than they even were in the early days of MTV.
I don't care.
That's a positive take.
Yeah, I don't have enough knowledge on the music industry to give a take on that.
Yeah,
Can't say anything positive. Can't say anything positive about it.
Care one way or another about music videos. I mean, if I watch a music video on YouTube, it's because that's a good way to listen to the song free.
Yeah, you have YouTube Red?
Red, I'm not paying these Jews.
You think
you're not going to pay Dylon?
It's so worth the money. Dude, it's worth the money. YouTube Red is, I will never go back, man. It's the shit.
Locker.
What were you going to say,
actually-
Ohio?
Yeah. Do you think 80s rock caused degeneracy among the baby boomers?
Boomers, probably among the Gen Xers. I don't know that I would say that on some of them it did, yeah. But I mean, I was a guy, I wasn't into the stuff you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about the stuff like Rat and Poison and all that, and that they call hair metal now, right? And yeah, that stuff was mindless, but
even like the John Lennon and anyone who talked about drugs, like glorifying drug use.
60s, dude, that's not 80s.
Oh.
Yeah, the 60s stuff, the 60s stuff, I don't know that it caused it so much as that it was an expression of it. What caused the degeneracy in the 60s was college professors and the media and of baby boomers who had never been told no. And the birth control pill, easy divorce, no fault divorce. There's just a whole perfect storm of things that caused what happened to the baby boomers.
Okay.
Let me also interject. It seems like we have some other callers in the on-air waiting room. We have Gregory Malchuk who is in there, who is a he's kind of he's turning into a rising star. He's a proponent against circumcision. I think we should bring him over and see what he has to say about anything we're talking about, or if he just wants to come on and talk about circumcision, and you guys can give your takes on that.
I'll argue pro.
All right. Gregory.
Hello.
How do you do, sir?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Well, I just wanted to I just wanted to mention a couple of things that were mentioned earlier about this Aaron Schlossberg character that was going hard on the Mexicans in New York, or wherever he was from. It's an interesting case because, I mean, they're trying to disbar him, and the Bar Association is essentially a state-granted monopoly on the right to practice law. The idea that they're going to strip him from this based on essentially, free speech or viewpoint discrimination, if effectively is what it is really terrifying. I mean, I thought state-granted monopolies weren't able to do this. Certainly, the right wing is in desperate need of legal representation, and I don't claim that this Aaron Schlossberg character is one of us, but this could really have a chilling effect on ever being able to find representation. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
What's your thoughts?
There's already a huge chilling effect on it. There is, I along with just about everybody else who was a scheduled speaker at Unite the Right, the Charlottesville thing, I'm being sued by about a dozen Jewish lawyers representing a couple of people in Charlottesville who claimed that, they got PTSD and all this other stuff.
I heard actually Baked was one of the only people that isn't getting sued, and he was also a speaker.
And to my knowledge, he is not. I don't believe.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure. I'd have to go look on the papers to know for sure, but I don't believe he is, and he's never mentioned it. And so, he seems all happy-go-lucky and not worried about it. Everybody else who's on it is worried. But the thing is, there's only like one lawyer in the United States who's willing to represent us on that. It's this guy out of Cincinnati. Written up in all and he's been written up in all the papers locally there about how he's this evil lawyer for the alt-right, so he must hate the Jews and all this stuff. And
the Italian guy, the guy with the Italian last name.
No, he's not Italian. His name's Kalinick.
Oh, okay.
Like Ukrainian or some kind of Eastern European. But anyway, the way this lawfare that they have going on against the alt-right now is just unbelievable. I mean, like every other week, there's some new lawsuit against Daily Stormer where somebody claims that, the way they got covered on Daily Stormer has just wrecked their life and caused them all kinds of verklempt and all this. And so, some foundation gets a bunch of lawyers to sue. And it's like, you go try to find somebody, say, hey, how much to represent me in this? Like, oh yeah, man, for $250,000, we got this. And it's like, where do you think we get this? Where will we get this money? We can't come up with money like that. Every possible way, except for like cryptocurrency, that you could possibly raise funds has been taken away from us. Well, I can't keep a PayPal for 2 minutes, and it gets reported and taken down because I'm a hater of the color of the skin or whatever, as they report me of being. But I mean, it's just, we have been completely deplatformed financially. And that's because, what they say is true. There's a certain who controls the finances globally. And I mean, they've got us completely shut down. And they, like, when the SPLC comes after you, hundreds of millions of dollars, I'd admit that they're not suing us because they want to win something in court. They're suing us to put us out of business, by using lawfare to cause us to go broke and have to stop. And that's one of the things.
Are the judges at all interested in that as grounds for dismissing the suits? Or
no, and like that. No, they just let it go on. And that's one of the things that I have been saying for a long time, though, nobody listens to me. But one of the biggest problems that we have in the United States is this wide open litigation system that we have that is so ripe for abuse. And, every few years in this state or that state, they'll pass some type of vexatious litigation law where, to try to say, oh, this is a frivolous lawsuit and all that. It never works. It's never used. And the worst part of it is these people can use these lawsuits as fishing expeditions, because before the court even hears motions to dismiss the lawsuits and things like that, they start demanding discovery, and they can just demand basically anything in the world. And the court will order you to turn it all over to them. And so they just go fishing through all your stuff, trying to find something. And this all has to be done. And it's a complete perversion of what goes on in the criminal justice systems. In the criminal justice system, they've got to have some evidence that you've done something, and then it's up to them to prove it. But in the civil system, the way they have these discovery laws set up, it's like they come up with a theory. And like the theory that we're being sued on is this theory that we who are being sued over Charlottesville conspired ahead of time to deny whole demographic groups of their civil rights. Okay. And they have no proof of that, no evidence of that. And so they demand all this discovery, and they go digging through it to see what they can find, what they can come up with.
Wow.
Yeah. It's up to you to make the case for it.
Yes, supposedly there was a big data dump from the TRS forums as a part of the discovery over there. But yeah.
Asmodor, I had a question whenever you guys are done.
Go ahead. I think we're done talking about that.
Are you as red pilled on the WQ as Andrew Anglin and Weave?
Pretty much, yeah.
What's the WQ, just for clarification?
The woman question.
Oh, the woman question. Okay.
Because Andrew Anglin and Weave are like 1,000% based on the woman question. But Asmodor, last time I saw in the chat, you said women are only a problem because of a certain group of people. And I feel like that there might be some truth to that, but they are not absolved of any wrongdoing.
Well, they're not absolved of any wrongdoing, but what I said is correct. And I'm sure Anglin and Weave would agree with me on that. It's because of changes that have been wrought on our society, that were wrought on our society by that group of people for the most part. I mean, things like
right, but they took advantage. Yeah, but they took advantage of of these defects that women already have, or else it wouldn't have worked, right? Because white men aren't a problem the way that women are. So women already had these very flawed characteristics that they were able to exploit.
If you just do a video search here on YouTube for, I believe if you put in feminism is Jewish or the Jewish roots of feminism, either one, you will come up with videos that are nothing but like streaming photographs with names under them that are going by very fast, that go on for 10, 15, 20 minutes of one prominent Jew after another who were founders and big stars in the feminist movement. And there's practically nobody who's not, even the people who are at the forefront.
I know.
Of pushing
that's
that
not
now.
The point I was making. Yeah, that's not the point I was making.
Well,
we
I mean,
got sins that can be exploited by them.
Yeah, but everyone has a weakness.
Yeah, but white men aren't a problem, so obviously it didn't work on them. It worked on
a lot
women.
Of white men are cucked.
Yeah,
white men still vote majority Republican. They still vote majority Republican. Women,
but they're not perfect. Is what I'm saying.
Voting Republican doesn't mean anything. Look, white men are a huge problem right now too, and let me tell you why. Let's just take an example here. Some state votes in a law that says trannies are allowed to go to whichever bathroom they're allowed to in public. Or let's make it simpler. Some judge rules this, right? And everybody complains about it, but nobody does anything about it. You've got these weird, mentally deranged perverts who are going to be going into the bathrooms and the dressing rooms at the pools and the gyms and all this with your little girls and watching them and, pulling out their peckers and urinating in front of them and all this other stuff. Disgusting. And the worst thing that anybody does now is complain about it and say, I hope somebody runs for office next time I can vote for who says he doesn't like this. Well, if this had happened, let's say 60, 70 years ago, when like my grandfather, his 20s, if some judge had ruled this, the next morning when the court convened, all the men from 100 miles around would have converged on that court, walked right into it, snatched that judge out of there and hung him from the nearest tree. And they would have all done it with their faces right out for everybody to see. And they would have had a nice party celebrating under his hanging corpse. Okay.
Exactly.
Literally.
But white men have been tamed.
Yeah.
And that is a part of the problem. These people push this stuff because nothing's going to happen to them. I'm not advocating for anybody to go out and do anything. I mean, we're in a different world right now. And if you advocate for that, they're going to come snatch you up all by your lonesome for having said something. And they're watching every little thing everybody does. But I'm just telling you, if we had the caliber of white men now that we had 60, 70 years ago, I'm talking about before the baby boomers, these types of things, nobody would dare. They wouldn't dare. The United States would dare say that a tranny, you have to allow it to go to the bathroom or even like gay marriage. They wouldn't dare force that on people.
Yeah.
Homosexuality was illegal. and nobody would have even dared talk about making it not illegal because people didn't want this stuff.
Do you know Tim Wise?
Wise. I mean, I don't know him personally.
Have you seen this disgusting documentary that he made, White Like Me? And it's this documentary where he basically just says all his beliefs, and it's talking about how. I mean, the thing was, most of what he said was true, but it was like he was painting it in a way that it's bad. Do you know what I mean? So like he was saying
he's not.
I know. Well, he's 25% Jewish.
I've heard more, but 25%'s enough.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's too
and
much.
he goes around saying he's white. He goes around saying he's one of those my fellow white people, and
yeah. What were you trying to say, Balboa?
Yeah, to get back what Asmador was saying about the transsexuals and having to go to the bathrooms. When the whole the transsexual thing started getting more prominent like 2 or 3 years ago. I went to my father, and my father is older than me, And I looked like, Dad, these are kids now that are kind of boys that are claiming they're women now. My dad took one look at the computer screen and said, transsexual, what the hell's that? Back in my day, they used to be called cross dressers. And we used to, and when he was my age, we used to see those guys at like truck stops and like degenerate bars. Like they were like considered like some sort of weirdo freaks of society. Like people like look at him like as like a freak. So that's how far that sort of community that social niches came from, where they went from being an actual legitimate standard to where they were. My father of my age looked at back in those days, back in the early 70s, going, that's a cross dresser. That's something for some point and laugh at.
Yeah, and they were calling them cross dressers because that's all they were doing. I mean, they were queers, of course. And the weird thing is, back then, before they were getting it used to be a really rare thing to get the surgery because surgical methods weren't as advanced as they are now. And it was really dangerous. Not saying it isn't now, but it was really dangerous. And, they were just these freak hacksaw jobs. And so, these dudes would dress up as women. And of course they were gay. But there was this huge thing ever since the 50s. There had been this push from like the Frankfurt School and all that. Just because men dress up as women doesn't mean they're gay. And one of the earliest examples of that was it may have been Ed Wood's first movie. It's called Glenn or Glenda, because Ed Wood, the movie director, was a cross-dresser, but claimed he wasn't a homosexual. And he made a whole, one of his the guy who made Plan 9 from Outer Space, made this horrible Glenn or Glenda movie that was, just a propaganda piece for trying to normalize this cross-dressing stuff. But of course it didn't take. And this whole transgenderism thing that we have now is just a step beyond anything that we have ever seen in any society. I mean, we've got kids whose parents on gender reassignment therapy, with the hormones and everything before they even enter puberty. And we have whole movements of where there are tons and tons of leftist parents who are like refusing to assign a gender to their baby. And like, we're going to let the baby decide whether it's a boy or a girl. And just imagine the amount. But yeah, I mean, it's funny when you hear it like that, but it's a devastating thing to do to a generation of children. I mean, imagine the mental derangement that's going to come from that. Because I mean, the most natural thing in the world when you're a little kid is to want to know, how do you know what's a boy and what's a girl? And there's a very simple answer. One, does it have a penis or does it have a vagina? If it has a penis, it's a boy. If it has a vagina, it's a girl. And there's nothing more complex to it than that. But this cultural Marxist has created all this ambiguity and all this, they built in all this tales and theories and everything to try to confuse the hell out of all of it. And they are pushing it in society. And that's and the thing is, they have basically answered the question of where do these sexual freaks come from? Because, they used to always say, where do homosexuals come from? Are they born that way? Or, whatever. Well, now it's pretty much been shown that societal pressure or societal influence must have more to do with it than anything else. When you start kids' minds at an impressionable age and tell them, hey, the cool thing to do is to be a homosexual, or even more, be a pansexual, be an asexual, be a transgender, be an intersexual, whatever the hell. The weirder it is, the more accepting we'll be of it. The stuff just skyrockets. 20 years ago, crazy stuff going on in schools. And now it's like the ultimate hero is some nerd kid who decides he's going to be a girl now.
Yeah. Do you think the next thing they're going to push is pedophilia? I've heard that, but I don't really buy it. I mean, people are not going to, I don't care how much brainwashing.
They try to push it from time to time. And the way that they have been trying to push it lately, there have been a few articles here and there on sites like Slate and Huffington Post where what they try to say is, well, being a pedophile is not a bad thing as long as, you're not acting on it. I mean, if you're a pedophile, you're a victim and all like this, and it doesn't fly. They try to push that stuff. But I mean, when they were pushing gay marriage, people used to make fun of who would say things like, well, if you're going to normalize all this homosexuality to the point where you're letting people get married, well, what's next? I guess we're going to let people marry their livestock and their pets and and their children and all that. And, it's very possible. I mean, they'll try to do anything. There's let me see if I can bring it up on my,
Well, it's kind of like it's a shit test, right? I mean, leftism is basically a proxy for female psychology, and like right wing thinking is like a proxy for male masculinity versus femininity, right? And women just try to get away with as much shit as they can, and if there's nobody to put their foot down,
exactly.
It's a trial balloon is really the way to look at it. They float that balloon out there and see, how it works. They're gonna throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. However you want to say it. But hold on a second. I think I'm getting close to finding what.
Well, I do know when they were talking about legalizing gay marriage and all that, there was a lot of people joking about what's next, trannies, and then here we are.
We got it.
So.
Here we are now. That's why I'm kind of very scared. And when I do have children, which I plan on doing, and getting married, I'm actually seriously thinking about sending my kid either to a private Catholic school or just a non-public school, anything besides a public school. If I had the ability to do it, I'd probably try to homeschool them, but I want them to be socialized. So maybe send them to maybe Catholic schools or go to some sort of religious themed private school is the way to go. I mean, if they're gonna push that sort of crap, which I know they're doing now, maybe that's the way to go.
Man, just fuck out of the kids.
I
had a vasectomy. That's the way to go.
I found the quote I was looking for here. This is a quote from Wilhelm Reich, who was a prominent Jewish member of the Frankfurt School. He wrote this in a book called The Sexual Revolution. It says, "We are living through a true revolution of all values regarding sexual life. And among those values most seriously undermined are those relating to infant and adolescent sexuality. In 1928, when I founded the Socialist Society for Sexual Consultation and Sexual Research in Vienna, the genital rights of children and adolescents were denied. It was unthinkable for parents to tolerate sexual play, let alone to regard such manifestations as part of a natural, healthy development." I mean, this is 1928 we're talking about.
What was the thinking as I was watching this White Like Me documentary today, and they showed a lot of images from segregation and Jim Crow, and they showed, of course, this black guy who was talking to a white guy, and he was like, "You know what we do with niggers like you? We throw them into the lake, and no one ever hears from them again." And I was just wondering, what I want to get inside of the mentality of the white population back then. How did they see the African American population? I'm not being facetious. I really want to know.
Well, they didn't want integration. They didn't want them living in their neighborhood. They didn't want them living in their neighborhoods. They didn't want them intermarrying with their children, and they didn't want to.
Of course.
See why? I mean, anywhere you go that black people come to a lot, it's just a constant problem. If you don't believe me, try to take your kids to Chuck E. Cheese on a Friday night.
Yeah, exactly.
But how did they, in a more meta way, how did they see black people? Like, I'm sure it wasn't all based on facts and statistics and logic, right? Like there was just a general
probably just some observations.
Right? Probably.
Well, it was based on living.
Well.
Yeah. It was based on having lived with them.
Yeah, and on top of that, you're dealing with a white population that still had a sense of identity.
Dial, mute yourself.
Yeah, you're dealing with you're dealing with a population of whites who still had a identity of themselves as a white person. Like I am a white person, and these other ethnic groups are not white people. They're not amongst myself.
Wasn't
That's
there also a moral component to it? Like they saw them as immoral and white people as more
Well, I
moral.
mean, if you look at things that people wrote, yeah, like Jefferson in, I believe it was in Notes on the State of Virginia, he wrote that they existed purely for sensation and not reflection. And that's, you can take from that what you will. And it's unfortunate that he was not outlawed at the beginning of the Republic, because Jefferson actually wanted to do it when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. He wanted his original draft denunciation of slavery in it, and Franklin and Adams talked him out of it because the Southern states would have never gone along with it and signed the Declaration. And there were people who wanted to outlaw it at the beginning, when they were writing the Constitution and all that, but they were shouted down because, of all the huge business interests that at the time, North and South, but mostly South, who, had so much money invested in it and everything. But forward-thinking people who were trying to figure a way out of it. I think it was Monroe. I'm not sure. I think it was Monroe who set up Liberia and tried to get a movement going. We gave them our Constitution and everything over there in Liberia and had it set up to move them all back to, but it ended up not happening. And the United States has been an experiment, and it, at least in biculturalism, for all these centuries now, and it hasn't worked out well. And it's amazing to see that, all these European countries that have been able to watch what goes on here decades have decided to go through the same experiment to force it on their people who don't want it for the most part.
Yeah.
I guess I would ask if in the past, if people were very way more race realist, and they kind of understood the differences between everyone, and that's why the laws were the way they were. Why didn't they, when they had the majority, why didn't they actually why didn't they push out all the blacks and send them to Africa or anything like that? Why did they?
They were too nice.
Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't really a thing about nice. Is when they started, or when Lincoln ran for office, if he could preserve the Union with slavery, he'd do that. If he could preserve it without slavery, he'd do that. If there was some other way that neither preserved nor got rid of it, he'd do that. But when it came down to it, that there was going to be a war over slavery, Lincoln was promising that once they were all freed, they were going to go to Liberia. And we'll never know if he was actually going to do that, because as everyone knows, at the end of the war, John Wilkes Booth put a bullet through his head. But what happened then was this group called the Radical Republicans, also known at the time as the Radical Rump Republicans, who had been the ones pushing the war, and who were the ones who pushed the horrible occupation of the South known as the Reconstruction. They saw the recently freed slave population as a way to get back at South for the Civil War. And so not only, they took away the voting rights of all the white people for the most part. And, you suddenly had like your sheriff and your state legislature and your city council and all these illiterate blacks who had never been anything but cotton pickers. And they made citizens out of all of them. And they even, like the Southern congressmen who weren't going to, who were going to refuse to vote for the amendment to make all these black men into American citizens with full rights and everything at the end of the war. They sent the military in, and they had to vote it in at the point of a gun. And so, it wasn't because we were so nice. It was because the blacks were being used as a weapon by one side against the other. That's what happened. And in doing so, they altered the Constitution to make the black citizens. And the law just vaguely enough that a few decades later, court misinterpreted it to effectively create the problem we have now, where anyone in the world who can get in this country and have a baby is here forever, because they interpreted it to mean that even if you were born here because your parents broke the law and came here and had you real quick, then you're an anchor baby. You're stuck here. We're stuck with you forever. That's where that came from. The same law that made the black citizens.
So
the suicidal policy.
what was the motivation behind that? Was that out of like the goodness of their heart, they were trying to do the right thing, or was it something like, oh, we're doing this because we want votes from these people?
Do you mean making the black citizens, or making the or the Supreme Court decision?
To make the black citizens.
It's what I was saying before. It didn't have anything to do with votes really, so much as it had to do with using the blacks as a weapon against who the North, these radical Republicans, saw as their enemy, which were the Southern. And they were using these blacks to I mean, that's the only way to put it. That they, if a really interesting read that anybody could, if you want to know from firsthand from somebody who lived through a lot of this, and it's a short read too, is The Life and Times of John Wesley Hardin as told by himself. And, and he's writing about himself and his experiences. When he was a young kid, he was growing up in Texas during the Reconstruction, and they had all these federal troops down here occupying us. Well, they were black. They were these freed blacks, and they were really down here lording it over the white people and abusing them. Ooh. That's probably not even 100-page book. Check it out. It's a very interesting read.
Wow.
So I guess the only part that I kind of missed was so how were they used as weapons exactly?
Because they took away the voting rights of the people here, and they put there was a combination of two classes of people that they put in charge here. You had all these blacks who were the only ones who could vote, and so they took over government. And you had this class of carpetbaggers who were mostly Jews who came down here and basically made all the money off of it. Just imagine what it would be like to be a Southern person who has just come back from that war, who's been disarmed by the federal government, who's had his voting rights taken away by the federal government, and all these illiterate blacks have been given the vote, and your sheriff is one of them. The judges are blacks. Your legislature, your city council, all of them are these people. Well, that gives all these people from the North who engage in predatory practices against you, whether they're political or business or whatever, free reign to do it. And it's all being enforced by mostly black soldiers. I mean, it was revenge.
And they
teaching us a lesson.
Did they take away the voting rights because they were Confederate soldiers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, why? Well, I want to know because obviously I'm not a father and I'm never going to be, but so I don't understand. But what is the visceral anger that because on Jazz and Jesse, right, Sven was like, that is my greatest fear as a father. My daughter ever brings home a black man. That is like worse than anything I would like flip out. So what is the cause of that? Like seeing your daughter, a white daughter with a black man, what is like makes you so mad about that?
It's bestiality.
Exactly.
100%. No, all jokes aside.
But I mean, serious, well, for one thing, you've got that have taken hundreds of thousands of years to develop into what is the white race. and you're going to allow your daughter to throw away your genetic legacy forever by mating with a black, and you're going to have mixed race children who are going to be lower IQ, who are not going to be good looking, who are not going to look anything like you. Your entire family legacy is gone forever. That's the problem on the personal level. Now, on a larger level, got this problem. In 1900, whites were like 35% of the global population, and now we're nothing close to that. But the really important statistic that you need to know: women of childbirth, of the age that they can give birth to children, are less than 2% of the global population. Now, how much race mixing do we want them to do? You're talking about a situation where if everything came together at once, somebody needs to mute. Okay. Where if everything, all the right conditions came together at once, you could basically have a soft genocide in one generation, where there would just be a generation, where there were almost no white children.
Well, yeah, those are all like the thought out, big brain, logical reasons to be, but there's a visceral, like, fury that seems like Sven would have had if he saw his daughter with a black man, where it's like violent.
Because it's bestiality is the best way that I can say it without saying things that will get this channel flagged. Okay. I mean,
well, I'm sure they could flag for calling it bestiality, maybe, but
well, I mean, that's just the opinion of a caller to the show. But I mean, I don't know how else to put it to you.
Well, you could also say when it comes to two extremes like that, you could say that there's no equivalent exchange. Like Dylon, when you think of Obama, do you think of a half white person or do you think of a half black person?
A half black person,
right? When you think of Obama, you think of black.
You don't think he's a black guy. You don't think he's half anything. You look at him and he's a black guy. And
no,
that's what he thinks.
He definitely looks half. He definitely looks half.
Well, I mean,
he's a black guy.
I mean, the difference.
He's not a full-blooded Negro. Yeah, but he's a black guy.
I can see that he's very light. He's very light-skinned, and he looks half to me. But
well, yeah. I would just say when you look at Obama, you think of a black person. He's not known as the like when they think of him, they think of the first black president. They don't think of the first mixed president. They say black.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
Course.
So I would say. Oh, go ahead.
The only effect that you can see from his mother on his outward appearance is that his skin is a bit lighter. I mean,
no, his facial features, you can see the white in his facial features.
Well, you can.
I don't think so.
In that wide nose and those thick lips and that kinky hair.
Compared to his wife, who is full black, she looks more African.
Yeah, that's,
there's a little debate that his partner is a female.
You mean a male?
Yeah.
No, she's just a high testosterone woman. She's just a black woman. Black women have more.
Always moving. She's always adjusting her penis. But
look, her shoulder's a little bit too wide to be considered feminine. You know what I mean?
You just don't understand black women just have higher testosterone. That's all.
Well, so do black men too, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't know. If you don't get it, I don't know that I could ever explain it to you. And this could be largely due to the fact that you're Jewish. But,
probably.
But I mean, let me turn it around on you and ask you this. If you say you've got a Jewish family, okay, let's say they're Orthodox Jews, and the daughter says she wants to marry a black guy. Can you understand the Jewish father not wanting that?
I can. No, I respect it, but I don't viscerally understand it. Like,
Have you ever lived in the ghetto?
Kind of. Not really.
These people have ruined my fucking life, dude. Not my life, but my family's life. Black people, both of my sisters married to them, and they've caused so much drama, shootings at my house. Just, they're into a whole bunch of, I don't know, ghetto-ass shit.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that everybody knows intuitively, like race mixing is the quickest way to become a single mother. And
exactly,
the children I mean, this is a proven thing, but everybody knows it without having to see studies. You know, all these mixed race children are a fairly recent phenomenon in this society. There weren't any of them in school when I was going to school in the 80s. And with either side, and Obama himself has written about this, but you know, they do studies on their emotional state, and they suffer much higher rates of emotional problems and mental problems and such. It's a cruel thing to do to the children, for one thing, and the other thing is when a black and a white mix. Okay,
you mean like Prince Harry and Merkel?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be a little more extreme than that. Like, let's just say a really black dude.
Oh, okay.
And a white girl. Okay, they mix. Here's the other thing. People on both sides of the equation, and by both sides I mean black and white, they both agree is improving his genetic stock. They may not all be able to express it that way, but they know that, and they talk about it. There are no advantages for the white person, negatives for the white person, but there are plenty of advantages for the black.
So for this reason, do you see it as almost predatory? Like, this black guy took advantage of your daughter and is like predatoring your daughter, and that's why you get so mad?
No, I feel like society has taken advantage of it. And the thing is, I mean, the black guy is just doing what comes natural. But it doesn't mean that I would be okay with it or not hold him responsible and try to do whatever I would to stop it. But, this is just one of those things that has gotten real complicated in society now that didn't used to be complicated at one time, and even still within my lifetime. If dated a black guy just for a little while, it was over for her in society. It was over for her with her family. She was on her own forever. And I mean, it was just like having,
that's actually what happens in the Asian communities.
And it's the only, I mean, short of like some kind of physical punishment, it's the only thing that works to, and I mean, it's interesting that this has come up because today there was a story that came out. This guy who is a county judge in Dallas County, which is where Dallas, Texas is. He or county commission there in Dallas County, and it came out that he has in the trusts for his children, he has a requirement in there that if they want to get paid this certain part of the trust, a white person, okay, and people are just going nuts over it. The Dallas Morning News is calling him this horrible racist and want to know why he would put that in there, and the Republican Party has denounced him and said how bigoted it is that he wants his children to marry within their race. And of course, and he also said he wants them to marry Christian, and they don't like that so much either, but they really are on the white thing. And so, what you basically got here, media Jews who are telling white people that they are evil and bigoted if they don't want their children to race mix, if they're not willing to contribute to their own genocide, they're bigoted and horrible. But they would never say these things to a Jew who wants his daughter to marry, or his son to marry a Jew, or to a black who says, why not? I mean, you've got black women all over the internet who will scour the asses of black celebrities because they date black girls who are a little light skinned. And like, why can't you love the dark skinned girls, you dirty bastard? And on the dark girls. And that's all okay. But a white guy, I mean, there's a definite push, a cultural push, a media push, and a political push for white people to breed themselves out of existence through race mixing. Just a few years ago, the president of France, he addressed a group of elementary school kids, little white French kids, and told them that they had to race mix for the good of the country, for the peace of the country, and that if they didn't do it voluntarily, that France was going to pass laws to force them to do it. I mean, this was on video. This isn't a conspiracy theory. He said it to them.
Well, isn't
they don't.
well,
they
is it,
disguise it.
wait.
Yeah.
Isn't because from the stats I've seen, it seems like, you know, it's a lot of propaganda that everyone's mixing, but from the stats I've seen, it's pretty low, and whites actually mix the least amount. So would you say, because from what I've heard is the reason why whites are becoming a minority is mainly because of immigration, you know, taking 1 million non-white people every single year, not really people mixing.
Absolutely. But the thing that will make, that's the thing that will make us into a minority, but the thing that will make us disappear is race mixing.
Yeah.
And
which is inevitable. It's inevitable because if you put boys and girls in a room together, then what do you think is going to happen eventually?
It's only inevitable if you force the races to be together, because the races don't want to be together. I mean,
that's what I mean.
I would even say multicultural areas, all the groups, they go to their own little corner. Like even whites, they'll virtue signal and all this, but at the end of the day, I still don't see them in certain neighborhoods, you know.
Right. And not only that, I mean, and this is an old Jared Taylor talking point, but it's absolutely true. Possibly the only place society where the government is not allowed to force people to associate with people they don't want to associate with is church. So just go into any church on Sunday, see what you see in there. I mean, you'll see an all-white church with maybe a token non-white here and there, or an all-black church. And I mean, you've got these weird mega churches that, you know, do the TV shows that, you know, they look like they're fairly mixed, but they are the outlier. They're the unusual thing. But as far as these stats on how much the races mix and stuff, I mean, you know, they're always encouraging, but it's hard to tell with them because usually the stats are about marriage. And nobody gets married anymore. The rate of mixed race children, according to the census and the welfare offices and all this, you look at graphs of that and it's skyrocketed over the last 10, 20 years. And of course, that may have a lot to do with reporting too, because like I say, when I was a kid, you could have some really light-skinned black person and they would never check that they were mixed race. They'd always check that they were black. Now, of course, they, you know, neither one of their parents looked white or whatever, but these people were probably obviously mixed race, at least a few generations back or whatever. But, you know, these things, they're really hard. It's really hard to, stats, but yeah, I mean, as a percentage, whites probably mix less, but that's because we're the majority of the country. And there is still, you know, among many groups of whites, even the ones who won't admit it, there is a taboo against race mixing. And you'll find that a lot of the race mixing that goes on is not from the crusts of society. It's like from the dregs. You know, you'll have your drug addicts and your dropouts and stuff like that that are far more likely to be race mixing than successful people. The other thing that's bad on our part is, as far as the outlook for our demographic, is the fact that we're not having babies because we've been taught not to have them. Women have been taught not to have them. They've got to have that career first. They got to get that success going, and then they can have a baby, and they put it off until they're in their late 30s or whatever. And then they find out they can't have children, or if they can, maybe one.
Would you also say it has to do with men getting scared of, let's say they have a kid with a woman and then they don't like her, and then they get stuck with paying for child support, and then they might have to pay if they have a good job, they might have to pay I forget the other one.
Support. Alimony.
Yeah, alimony. There you go.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And it's not just if they don't like her. I mean, let's face it, when it comes to family courts, women, they have full control of these things. so like, I don't know how many times I saw this in my life. Some guy, he really loves this girl, and whether they get married first or not, you know, she gets pregnant and they have a kid or two or whatever. And at some point, while they're still just little old babies, the woman decides she's tired of this. You know, he doesn't listen, or he's gone working too much, or he's an asshole or whatever. And so they go to court and they get, you know, this easy divorce. And the court, unless, you know, you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that like she's a heroin addict, is street walking to pay for her addiction and stuff like that, the woman's going to get the kids and you're going to have to pay for it. And pay for it. But, you know, generally speaking, when they're getting paid just to take care of these kids and stuff, then the next thing you know, some dude comes over and he's living in your house that you're paying for. As long as he doesn't marry her, there's nothing you can do. And he might be there, you know, whichever way it goes, it's bad. I mean, if he's being real good to your kids and they're calling him daddy, boy, that's bad. Or if he's being real bad to your kids and abusing them, that's bad. It's not good any way you look at it. And the women will often, even when you're paying the child support, they'll deny you visitation with your children. And when you're not around, they'll be talking about, oh, what a piece of shit you are and all this, getting the children to hate you. And then let's say, you know, you've been paying the child support along and everything, and suddenly the factory you're working for goes out of business and you can't get a job that pays half of what you were getting paid before. You fall behind on your child support a couple of times and they throw you in jail. Without any kind of probable cause or due process or anything. They just throw you in jail. And while you're sitting there in jail, whatever, the child support is racking up. And when they let you out, they're like, hey, dude, you're 8 months behind on your child support. You've got 1 month to make that up. Better get to humping it. You know, I mean, these things scare people.
I think I might consider getting cut like Dylon now after all that.
Yeah. Dude, do it. It's the way to go.
Nah, that's not good.
I don't encourage people to do that because, you know, this stuff scared me out of having children. And you get, I mean, of course I'm a man, so I could do it forever. You know, if I met some woman who was willing and I thought would be a good mother or whatever, I could have children 8 or 9 months from now if I wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, Trump had a kid at 60, right? That was Barron. Yeah.
But well, I mean, and like Anna Nicole Smith had a kid by some 90-year-old dude. But the thing is, you definitely will come to a point in your life where you're like, what have I done? I don't have any kids. It's a real, you'll come to a real reckoning, most likely. But, and I purposely did not, or not purposely, I guess, but I did everything I could to avoid it. For one thing, because of that, what I saw going on around me, and the group of people that I was hanging out with at the time was not the highest class group of people either. But even back in the 90s, you were really, really lucky if you could even find a decent girl if you had not married like your high school sweetheart right out of high school. You know, they all started and it was a kind of a culture shock for people of my generation because the generation before us didn't do this, but like they were all just jumping on the cock carousel, and it'd be like, well, you know, you're 25 and you meet this girl and you start dating her, and over, you know, a few conversations, you discover that at least once she's had sex with every one of your friends. You're like, what the fuck, you know? I mean, none of these things are, and I fully admit, like I said, that I wasn't hanging out with the most top-notch group of moral people at the time, but it was an average for, you know, blue-collar working class type group of people for this area. And just none of this stuff was conducive to wanting to get married and have children. That, and the fact that, you know, everything, if you're a person who's actually thinking about the future, you know, all the economic uncertainty and everything. Because like I said, I was a blue collar guy working in the factories, and the factories were every other month, the factory would close and get moved overseas. And, you know, I know now it's a different set of economic worries, but, you know, they're still just as dire. Nobody gets a job anywhere anymore as some great big company and goes, okay, I'm set. You know, I'll be working here for the next 30 years and then retire. been gone for 30 years.
Yeah, I would say you brought up women and how they're very, they get around a lot. And I would say that's the number one thing is all these women, they're being told to behave in anti-woman ways. Because if they go out and they're with every single guy, the value of that woman is very, very low, right? And I mean, you could see it. You could see it with virgins today. A virgin could go out and say, "Look, I'm a virgin." She can make $1 million because she has value. She's a virgin, right? People used to sacrifice virgins because they had value because they'd never been used before. The more you use, the less value you have. That's why if you call it a whore,
I don't understand. I don't understand why. Like, why does? Who cares? It's the same pussy.
Yeah, but the point is, it's never been opened before. You know, like you get like a doll that's never been opened. It has a lot of value, but the minute you open it, the value goes away, right? Same thing with like a comic book.
I feel like it's. I must have very subversive views on this, but I feel like it's kind of cooler if the girl has been fucked. If the girl has been fucked by a lot of cool, high status males, because then it puts me in the club with a bunch of cool guys, and it's like kind of like a bro thing. Like I know I'm fucked this girl, and XYZ other really cool guys that I look up to have. Then it makes me feel special.
Yeah.
Well,
The more men a woman has been with, the lower her value is.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
Why? I don't understand why.
Yeah, the only club I could see you talking about is the herpes club.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that.
It's like an automobile. The miles tick up and the value ticks down.
No, but an automobile actually loses value, like physically. It's a piece of machinery.
But why does it lose value? It's because it's got less life left in it.
But that doesn't apply to genitalia.
You're not interested. Yeah. You're not interested in anything but a sex act, okay? And you're talking about not having a relationship. You're talking about having sex with someone.
I never said I'm not interested in anything other than a sex act. I'm a total hopeless romantic.
Okay, well so then why would you want to be with someone to whom you are not special at all? To whom you are one of a huge crowd?
Yeah, I don't want her to cheat. I don't want her to cheat on me, of course, but that's different. I don't care if she's been with guys in the past. Who cares?
Do you understand the concept of intimacy? I mean, how can you be intimate with someone who?
Yeah, you're talking about cheating. Yeah, but in the past, before she met me,
how can you be intimate with? How can you be intimate with someone who has been intimate with 100 people? That's just
because now she's mine. Because now she's mine.
These other guys,
theoretically,
once these other guys poked her, they were there. She was theirs too.
Well. So Dylan, you would have no problem going out with a prostitute then, as long as she quits.
As long as she does not cheat on me. I know that's probably unlikely with a prostitute. That's a different story, though. That's a loyalty thing. That's an honesty thing.
Go watch one of these gangbang videos and find you a nice, attractive girl doing that. And then come back and tell me that if she quit being a porn star and would be faithful to you, do you want to be with that girl?
Yes, I don't care at all. But I don't know if this is Jewish
I don't know what to
or
say
the
to
autism or both. It could be the autism or the Jewishness or both. I don't know which one it is.
Well, would you?
I mean, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care how many bukkake parties she had been the treat at.
Jesus.
As long as she stopped doing it, that'd be okay with you.
Yeah. Exactly. If anything, I think it's kind of cool. You know how girls are attracted to like quote unquote bad boys? Well, I'm like attracted to bad girls. Like I like girls that like party and like break the rules, and I like bad girls. You know.
Hey, go ahead, Gregory.
Well, I'd just like to ask, getting back to the bigger picture questions here, what are the fixes that we could ever implement for the very significant and systemic breakdowns in the gender discourse in America? Should we ever gain the upper hand or take power, or longer term? How do we try to go about fixing the so-called woman question?
It's a real hard thing to address because there are fixes, but as long as we have the type of society that we have now, where women have equal rights and we have the liberal notions that we have and all, they're not going to happen. I mean, the first thing that that you would have to do is you would have to get rid of no fault divorce. That would have to go.
Yes.
And you would have to severely curtail birth control. Okay. Because birth control is no fault sex. It's easy sex, basically. I mean, of course, there are total downsides to it, but like a woman on the pill can still get herpes and HIV and all these other diseases and stuff. But still, it puts the idea in their mind that there's no consequences to sex. You would have to change the culture. And the first place that you'd have to change the culture would be, I think, at the level of the public schools, because that's one of the places where this really got changed. Even in the little conservative Bible Belt area that I lived and little small town high school that I went to in the 80s, we had sex education there, and it was really it was a cultural programming thing, and this would have been so unpopular with the with the students' parents and all the time. They didn't even call it sex education; they called it human relations, and it was like a 6-week course in the middle of what otherwise was health class. And throughout it, they taught you how to have sex and how to do all the different sex acts. They taught you all about birth control and all about abortion. And they encouraged you to go out there and have all the sex you wanted, but by all means, don't get pregnant. And if you do get pregnant, go get an abortion, because a baby's going to ruin your life. And so, I mean, and you could see in that generation, once they started pushing that stuff, and there are, and on the college level, I mean, I have a young relative who's going to start college. She's going to be going away to a 4-year college, and I've been just worried sick because she's going to go live in the dorms and everything, and she's just a regular, nice little small town girl, and she's going to get up there, and this college is going to be, even though they say they're against it, they're going to be promoting. They've got the vending machines full of free condoms, and they got the co-ed dorms, and they're going to be pushing all this leftist sexual nonsense on them. And that's where a lot of these girls get ruined. And, you'd have to change the culture of these universities, which, I mean, of course, that has to be done about a million things, not just with the situation that we have with the sexes. But you have to figure out some way to get back to a place where women don't completely control the sexual franchise the way they do now. We've been in a situation for several decades now where women are walking around. Women are totally in control. They're the ones who decide who's going to have sex and with who.
That is a horrifying thought.
Rules. If you're a woman, there's no rule. I mean, there are no consequences and no rules. But if you're a man, there's all kinds of consequences and rules. I mean, like, a woman can go around having sex with man after man after man with no consequences. But the first man who has sex with her and she gets pregnant, then suddenly there's all these consequences on him. And and another thing that occurred because of this is that practically no males are getting sex anymore. Less than half probably are getting sex. It's one of the hardest things to actually figure out, because everybody lies about it. But it's because of
there's a sharp decline in the amount of sex that's happening. There's an increase in the age of loss of virginity. It's very interesting, and I don't know that it bodes well.
Because the reason it occurs.
There's a movement in Japan. Well, yeah, I mean, there's the notion of the incel, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. There's a broader trend of people who, like I say, they're sort of in Japan. They have this notion of the grass eaters. They're not self-identified. It's sort of a socio-political economic term that the experts are applying to them. And these are young men that are they're not having sex. They're sort of disengaging from the sexual marketplace. They may be padding their careers. a lot of them may be playing video games, but they're sort of disengaging here. And the political class in Japan is sort of wigging out about this because, you know, these young men that are disengaging and are totally disenfranchised, they tend to cause social upheaval, I suppose. I don't know if that has potential for our movement in terms of agitation.
Are you talking about like incels?
Well, no. Well, that's sort of like an inner
right?
core.
They're causing problems because they're
there's
sexually frustrated.
yeah, but there's a wider class of people who don't self-identify. They wouldn't call themselves a grass eater. This class of people, that this is an outside term imposed upon them, but they are disengaging from the dating game.
So they're called grass eaters?
In Japan, yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Dude, I haven't had sex in forever. And I've never had like a ongoing relationship. Dude, like, you know, have sex constantly. I always jump from girl to girl back in high school.
The way to encapsulate the phenomenon I'm talking about is, I guess, like with a parable, and the parable would be the parable of the nightclub. Okay. If you just took a cross section of men and women, you know, society, and you put them in this nightclub, are going to compete for the top percent most desirable men there. Now, no matter how low on the scale the woman is, she wants to have sex with these higher men. And
the alphas, right?
Women will take turns having sex or being in short-term relationships with these guys on the high end, and all these guys in the middle and the low end can't get women at all. And so, you know, and that's why we had the institution of marriage the way that we have had it for thousands of years until this was changed in the 60s and through the 70s, was to solve that problem, because you would have people who were basically on the same level of the totem pole married off to each other, and they would remain married. And that way, all the men got to have sex, and you had stable families and a stable society and all that. And all this has been wrecked overnight. These traditional institutions.
Well, do you see that, like, I don't know, to play devil's advocate, do you see that as maybe a good thing? Because like in nature, usually the alphas are the ones that get to reproduce, and all the betas don't get to reproduce, and maybe it might be producing a higher quality of stock, possibly.
No, because these people aren't reproducing. I mean, you know, the captain of the football team doesn't have 100 kids.
That's true.
What I find most interesting is the potential for this disaffected young male class to be sucked into revolutionary political movements. I mean, is there
like
potential?
Antifa?
Well, more on our own side is what I was thinking.
Kind of works both ways, because you have different types of people who are affected differently by this. You have, you know, like these male feminists, and they don't ever get laid, but they become male feminists for the most part, because they think that by being these white knights for these women and becoming beta for them and saying the things that these women claim that they want to hear, and behaving in the way that these women claim they want men to behave, that they're going to get laid. They're going to be surrounded by all these women all the time. They're going to do exactly what these women say they want, and then they don't get laid. But then, you know, on the other side of that, you've got these guys who are, I mean, I can't even predict what's going to happen because of this, but it ain't going to be good. There's an old saying, I can't remember where I heard this, but it said, when you're getting sex, it's like the least important thing in the world. But when you're not getting any, it's the most important thing in the world. And not getting any now. And it's not just sex. I mean, men want more than sex. I mean, sex is the bottom line of the thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, men want a relationship. They want a wife. They want someone to have their children. They want someone to grow old with and all that. And that's all been taken away. I mean, even if you're the alpha guy who can get the girl, you don't have any kind of reasonable guarantee that you're going to be married for 5-10 years anymore. I mean, the institution of marriage is just a joke. I mean, so obviously you take these vows and you pledge, you take an oath to be together forever until death do you part. And they haven't even bothered to amend the vow or until somebody hires a lawyer. It is now. I mean, the till death do you part's the biggest joke in the world.
Yeah, I have seen that divorces, like most of my friends in my generation, I'm a millennial, and most of my friends, a lot of them didn't have fathers around, and a lot of divorces. And even if it didn't happen like when they were young, it definitely happened when they got a little bit older. But if anyone has anything else to say, you could, I mean, we are past the 3-hour mark, and I'd like to go and say hi to my my parents and all that. So if you guys want to, shout out something or anything like that, now's the time to do so. Let's start with Gregory, because I know you have something to shout out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could plug my pet issue. I mean, it's sort of a very dark and very little talked about subject in American society, and yet it's so prevalent. I think, I'm the resident anti-circumcision activist on the alt-right, and, I'm putting it out there potentially as an explicit political battering ram against our occupation government, right? This country literally rapes babies, and you tell this to young people and they start to melt down a little bit. The under 25 demographic. I mean, you tell somebody, it's saying, Zog is raping the country through mass immigration and media control. That's one thing. Telling them that they raped you as a baby. People have long sleepless nights over this, and they start to crack. And the flood of people that I'm talking to now tends to prove my theory right. So I'm offering it out there. I don't know if other people are interested. It's just so sick what has happened to this country.
Yeah, all I got to say is that we know what's coming down the pipeline, and all I got to say is hopefully we could start banding together and start organize ourselves as a society, which we used to do back maybe 100 years ago. Just join everyone. Just look into a group called Identity Europa. Everyone take a look in that group.
Okay, good stuff.
Yes, I would have loved. Well, maybe it's for a future segment if Azimador comes back on about right-wing community organizing methods and the future of the right wing.
Yeah,
if you guys want, we could do that tomorrow.
Yeah, because everything that we talk about, whether it be Azimador or talking about the public school system, we're dealing with bureaucracies, administrations, just whole systems of power that we don't own that are feeding us this degenerated crap. We have to start building our own institutions that are cut from these cesspools of degeneracy. I mean, that's really the biggest problem. How could you not? I mean, literally, when I grow up and become a parent, I'm going to have to take my son and go, okay, you're going to be shown this, and this at your public school. Don't listen to it. Just take the test, but don't let it try to affect you. You have to de-educate your kids from the indoctrination of what they're going to be exposed to. And that's if you care, if you're even aware of it. The people who are not even aware that this mind control is going down, they're just not more food for the fire. Just know that more sheep. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Anyone else have anything to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to throw out a couple of plugs if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I guess first, since we're on YouTube, if you want, go over and subscribe to my channel, The Crypto Report. It's crypto with a K. And check out my show, The Crypto Report. It posts on Daily Stormer. That's dailystormer.name. And I write there from time to time. And yeah, there'll probably be a new episode of The Crypto Report in the next couple of days. But if you want to listen to some of my past stuff, I have a couple of shows on my YouTube channel and a few more on my PewTube channel, PEWTUBE, because the stuff doesn't get taken down there. And I'm Asmodor over at PewTube. And if you want to listen to more of my past shows, you can just Google The Crypto Report, KRYPTO Crypto Report, and you'll get a lot of results there. So check that stuff out. And I appreciate you live streams.
Yeah, thanks. You're one of the people that comes on a lot. You donated. You really helped with the conversations here, and a lot of the people in the chat and my Discord, they know you, and they, when you come on here, they're like, cool. It's like celebrities in here. So, I haven't had any problems. So,
well, Asmodor is such. Well, see, one thing about the I call you guys 1.0 guys. Some of the 1.0 guys, I mean, they do have a wealth of knowledge because they went through the guys who foretold what we're going to be going through. They're kind of like the old generation guys, the guys you should be mentoring, listen to, because he's been around through a lot.
Well, yeah, that's a nice way to say I'm old, but
you're wise.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not literally a 1.0 guy, because when what we refer to as 1.0, the white nationalist movement of the 70s and 80s and 90s, when that stuff was going on, I was fully red pilled as far as, racial questions and stuff like that. But I didn't see those movements as getting us anywhere. And I was involved in secessionist movements here in Texas. And when it was the internet that got me to start doing the white nationalist thing, because once I saw the ability to be able to get my message out there, and I saw a movement building that wasn't based on skinheads and guys in robes and pointy hats and stuff like that, then I thought, this is a movement where we can reach out to more normal mainstream people, and this is a medium where people can say the things that they don't say publicly. That had always been one of the really hard things to get past, was the fact that, in private, having beers with friends and coworkers and stuff like that, people would tell the truth, but they were afraid to say anything publicly. And the internet changed that, because you could do it anonymously and tell the whole world. And that's where I came in. I mean, I'm not offended at being called a 1.0, but I'm really not a 1.0. I'm one of the founding members of this alt-right thing, really, is more accurate what I am.
All right. Good to know. Thank you for everyone came on. Gregory, Asmodor, if you guys want to come on tomorrow and talk about strategy and, maybe get into circumcision a little bit more, and also regenerative medicine. Because I know that's something that you know about, and I haven't heard too many political people ever talk about that. So maybe we could talk about something a little bit different. So until then, thank you to everyone. And also, I'll be live streaming tomorrow. So for the 35 people watching, tune in tomorrow. And thank you, everybody.
All right.
Later.
Different.